Hi friends, welcome to my channel. This is my humble attempt on narrating my own write-up. Kindly ignore my flaws and do support me. Thank you so much. Now let's go. You and I are meant for each other. Chapter 1. A&H Designs, one of the most successful and famous fashion companies of India, has its head office in New Delhi, owned by our rude, handsome Aarav Singh, the most eligible bachelor of the city of late 20s. He is expecting his PA, who was recruited by his HR team. He hasn't seen her, as he is not at all interested in that, because of his past experiences with his flirtatious PAs. He really wants one who can concentrate on work and not on him. So instead of hiring her directly, he gave that responsibility to his team. They informed him that she is a very pretty and smart girl, for which Arav rolled his eyes. They then informed him that she actually belongs to a different state. Yep, she's from Tamil Nadu but speaks Hindi fluently. Harav didn't have any hopes for her and so for sake waited for her arrival, not knowing that he is in fact going to fall for her at first sight. Though everyone in A&H Designs knew that the new PA is about to come, that too from a different state, they clearly hid their excitement due to Arav's anger. And when the time came, Shruti entered A&H premises. She was a bit nervous, as she had heard only one thing about her new boss, his temper. She took a deep breath, and everyone turned around to see her. Instantly, their jaws fell in surprise. She kept a cute smile on her face, which added extra points to her beauty. She was shown Arav's cabin. She composed herself and got ready to face her so called rude boss. She knocked the door and waited for us. Come in. And there came a very commanding voice. She then entered, wearing a simple smile, and greeted him. Good morning, sir. Good morning. He just said that without any expression and closed the folder which had her details. He now knew that she is 26 and have a master degree with a year of experience. He raised his eyes to meet her for the first time. Unknowingly, he gazed her from head to toe, making her very uneasy. The truth is, he was also expecting some ultra modern girl just like his previous assistants. But to his surprise, this one looked very simple with a jean and kurta. Her hair plucked in the middle and rest or left free. Minimal makeup, or to say just natural. And he couldn't help to check her bindi with a puja sindoor. Overall, she looked very homely, which is obviously quite contrast of what they all expected. Not bad. Let's see, he thought with a smirk. Chapter 2. He gestured her to sit down and with a thank you, she settled in the chair. Miss Shruti, he called her casually. Yes, sir, she replied with a smile. Why did you quit your previous job? He asked her instantly and observed her sharply. She blinked. Sir? She hesitated. Yes, he said as if waiting for a reply. "Hmm, my ex-boss tried to misbehave, so I slapped him. She told without meeting his eyes, which earned a chuckle from him. So you got fired? His words made her eyes to shot up on him. No, I resigned, came her instant reply to his astonishment. Okay, he said, and she couldn't get what that meant. Actually, he knew this already. As his team had collected all her details, he just tested her. Here, take this. That's your desk. He pointed outside the window where her desk was set up. Go through the details and see Lavanya in the reception. She will guide you. With that, he got engulfed in his laptop. Okay, sir. She stood and walked out with the file. When she was about to open the door, he looked up and saw her long silky hair touching till her hip. To his surprise, he felt difficult to shift his eyes from her, that too without getting caught. He thought to keep an eye on her, as he felt she is different from his other assistants. Shruti went to her desk and got settled with her things. When she looked up, she saw her handsome boss through the glass window. So you can watch me too. She shrugged and took the file. She came to know his schedules of having black coffees and lunch breaks. Black coffee? Saying this, she went to meet Lavanya. Hello, she said to Lavanya. Hi, Shruti, right? Instantly she extended her hand. I'm Lavanya. Welcome to A&H Designs, with a dimple smile. Shruti shook her hand with a cute smile. Lavanya, can I call you by your name? Shruti hesitated. Sure, why not? I would love that. Lavanya made it very easy for her. Great, she continued. Lavanya, can you say about Sir's black coffee? I think it's time. She glanced at her watch. Yeah, black coffee, no sugar. She said blankly. What? Why no sugar? Out of curiosity, Shruti asked her. Because Sir has diabetes. She said casually. Diabetes? He seems to be very young. Shruti said with concern. Not to worry. Sure isn't proper medication. Lavanya ended it. Okay, we'll see you later. Saying this, Shruti started to go. See you on lunch. Lavanya waved at her. After getting his black coffee, Shruti knocked his cabin door. With his come in, he got in. She placed his coffee carefully without messing up. She watched him sipping his coffee. Just his eyes widened a bit after tasting her coffee. She got worried whether he liked it or not, but he didn't say anything about it. Later, check this one. It has all my meeting schedules. Do enter in your calendar. Also, take Mishra's file from the cabinet and go through it, he said while pointing the cabinet in his room. She nodded and went to get a file. Chapter 3. She just froze looking at the cabinet. Arav, who's watching her for a reaction, didn't get disappointed. He chuckled as it was worth watching her. He then immersed in his work. She blinked at the files which were kept like a mess. She wondered what the previous assistants had done. She took a breath and tried to find Mishra's file. She searched in the shelves which was reachable for her. Sadly, she couldn't find it. So, she looked up the higher shelves and tried to reach, but in vain. Harav, though he is busy with his laptop, didn't miss to notice her move. Lastly, she laid her eyes on the big chair which was kept near the couch. She saw Harav, who had his eyes on his laptop now. She didn't even know whether to ask him or not, as she is really scared that he may glare or yell at her. Slowly, she made to the chair and tried to take it. It wasn't easy for her to lift, as it weighed more than it looked. She dragged a bit, but with the noise it made, she froze again. When she looked up, just like she thought, his eyes held her. She didn't move. He simply rolled his eyes and got busied with his files. She stood for a while and tried to drag very slowly. She kept her eyes on Arav. He didn't raise his eyes, even with the noise. Finally, she managed to place the chair. She got her heel off and stood in the chair. She then promised herself to arrange his cabinet properly very soon. Arav couldn't help watching her. Yes! She exclaimed in happiness when she had finally found it and literally jumped down when he cleared his throat. She looked down and without waiting moved back the chair to its position. Then, after collecting her things, she almost ran out of his cabin. Arav's point of view. Shruti, I thought her to be just like my other PAs. But when I saw her first, her appearance, her smile, her eyes, her hair, everything said something else to me. Not to forget that black coffee. Oh God. Till then, I thought there is nothing special with a black coffee. But when I sipped hers, I really felt like I'm addicted to this. What has she done to my black coffee that I want more and more of it? I knew that she was eagerly waiting for my compliment or whatever, but I really wanted to stay stiff in front of her. I wanted to know more about her. Then came her look when she washed my file cabinet. It felt so hard to suppress my laugh. How come she knew that my previous PA had spent most of her time in ogling me? I hate those type of girls who will push themselves to any extent. When she struggled to get those files from the top shelves, I thought to help her, but instantly stopped myself, as I don't want to change my personality here. She must have thought me the rude one. Yes, I am, to the outer world, as I have seen my pattern relatives' true faces after my parents' death. So, let her think the same. The chair, how her face became pale when I stared at her due to that noise. She is clearly scared of me. She must have heard about me. Then it was very hard to hide my smile when she dragged it again. I knew that her gaze is on me. I pretended to be busy with my file. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. When she stood on the chair, I kept watching her, her hair bleaching the over it with her head up. She didn't even think to seek my attention, which I wonder, as I remembered one of my other PA who purposely fell down to gain my touch. That, yes, she acted like a child. I was totally amused with her doings, and right now I'm watching her through the glass window, but she is totally into her file. One thing I'm sure that it is going to be very interesting in coming days. Chapter 4. Shruti went through her file and took notes in her notepad for her reference. Her intercom buzzed. It was obviously from him, Aarav. He just informed her about the presentation sample which is sent to her system and to do one based on it for Mishras. She hanged it and started to work on it. She even marked all of his schedules in her calendar just like he said. He kept watching her in between, but never once caught her staring at him. She was busy with her stuff. Then came the lunch time. As usual, the office boy came with his food tray. When he was about to start his lunch, he noticed that Shruti is still working. He took his cell and dialed her, and instantly shot up to her as it came busy. Just then he saw her answering her cell with full of smiles. What the? Came from his mouth as she was working a minute before. He observed her facial expressions, and without his knowledge, he had a lopsided grin. All of a sudden, he snapped from his thoughts as he was thinking how pretty she is actually. What if it's her boyfriend? With that, he just stood and walked towards her desk. This is too much for him. The feeling that is suddenly raising is maybe he is attracted towards her due to their cultural differences. Even then, it surprised him a lot. When he neared her, he could hear her voice but couldn't get what she is saying as she is talking in her mother tongue. Sorry, நான் மறந்துட்டேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டே இல்ல. ரூம் எல்லாம் ஓகே. இப்ப லஞ்ச் எடுத்துக்கிறேன். ம். ஈவினிங் கால் பண்றேன். அப்பா விக்கிய கேட்டதா சொல்லுங்க. டேக் கேர். லவ் யூ மா. She hung herself and turned only to find him staring at her. She didn't know how to react and instantly checked her watch for the lunch timing. She signed in relief and met his eyes, which were still on her. Sir. She was cut off by his words. This is my number. Save it. He just gave a ring to her and continued. Go for lunch. With that, he turned to move to his cabin with a smile playing on his lips. She stood watching his back when she heard, Bye. Aarav turned to him, who went to him with a smile. Bye. This is the file you asked me to check. Saying this, he handed the file to Aarav, who got it with a nod. That person turned to Shruti and gave a smile to her. She too smiled in turn without knowing who he is actually. He walked to her and extended his hand. Hi Shruti, I'm Akash. She saw Arav and then Akash. Akash Singh. He signaled his hand, which was waiting for her. She jerked from her stare as she got it that he is Arav's brother, and with a smile shook his hand. Sorry, hi. Releasing her hand, he continued. Lavanya was telling about you. It's lunch. Come, I will introduce you to our gang. He said with a kind smile. She too smiled and looked at Hara, who was still rooted there watching their interaction. Seeing her gaze, he looked at Arav. Bye, as if he is informing about taking her to cafeteria. With a nod again, Arav walked to his cabin. She felt odd to predict his nature by his gesture, though she knew a little that he is a rude person. Come, Akash said softly. Yeah, just a minute. She locked her system and took her purse to walk with them. When they entered the cafeteria, she noticed Lavanya as she is waving her with a cute dimple smile. She too waved her. Shruti, vanakkam. A guy held his palms together and greeted her warmly. She smiled and returned a namaskar in the same way he did, making everyone to smile. Shruti, he is Karan, my younger brother. She smiled at him while Akash continued. Lavanya, you know, and she is Deepali. She again smiled at her, who was blushing by looking at Akash. Shruti observed Akash and Deepali. She cleared her throat, as if she got what is going on between them. Akash chuckled, making Deepali to blush more. Oh, enough, lovebirds. Karan interrupted them. Shruti smiled naughtily as she got them and settled in her seat. Hi, Deepali said, composing herself. Hi there. Shruti smiled with a mischievous smile, making her to struggle a bit. Deepali is a little shy person, but once she gets to know you, she is very talkative. Also very pretty, just like Lavanya. Karan, lovebirds, what about you guys? Akash pointed Karan and Lavanya, raising his eyebrows. Shruti's eyes widened to know another couple there. Great. She couldn't hide her happiness. Yeah, yeah, but we are not blushing, you guys. Karan said, looking at Lavanya. Okay, enough, guys. Shruti, let me clear you. Me, Deepali, and Anjali, their sister, signaling at Akash and Karan, our college buddies. So by that way, we know these guys and got into. You know what? She smiled. Yeah, got it. Shruti grinned and took a sip of her water. Shruti, now your turn. Deepali asked her. What? Shruti looked at her. Shruti, Shruti, what? Your surname? She asked her again. Hmm, Shruti Shekhar. Actually, Shekhar is my father's name. In our state, some families don't have surname. Instead, we use father's name before marriage and afterwards Abhi's name. Shruti replied. Oh, great, Karan exclaimed. Chapter 5. Yep, Shruti smiled. She felt like she has already known them. Shruti, if you don't mind, tell us about your family. We want to know about you, as you are in our gang now, officially. Akash winked at her, for which he got elbowed by Dipali. Shruti giggled and started. My father was a retired army man. Mom, Meenakshi, a beautiful homemaker. And lastly, my enemy. I mean, my younger brother, Vignesh, works in an IT field. He's my best buddy too. And we used to share everything. Sometimes I address him as Vicky Bucky when he drives me mad. And please don't ask me what does that mean, as I myself don't know. She laughed, ending it. How that's really sweet, Deepali said, clasping her palms while settling her elbows on the table. Now, first let me tell about Lavanya and Deepali. Current passed a while then. Both are from Uttar Pradesh, neighbors, only daughters to their parents. Like they said before, did their courses with Anjali, now staying in hostel temporarily, as very soon they will. He left hanging there and watched Lavanya and Deepali with a naughty glint. Shruti chuckled, understanding that he is referring about their marriages. Deepali, as usual, blushed, while Lavanya gave a glad to him. Shruti, I will tell about this idiot's family. He is only like this. She gestured, keeping her finger on her temple and twisted it as if he is nuts, which earned a chuckle from Karan. He loves her way of teasing him. Lavanya continued, shaking her head for Karan's response, as nothing can change him, getting giggles from others. The rest of them are very sweet. You know, Aarav, that big bro, Anjali, our buddy, and that cute sis. You should meet her, Shruti. She's getting married soon to Amanja, who owns his law firm. For which Shruti nodded. Then Nani, Devyani Singh, aunties and uncles, Avantika and Arish, Arav bro and Anjali's parents, Sheila and Anuj, Akash Karan's parents, Avantika auntie and Anuj uncle or siblings. She pictured it clearly. Shruti is getting to know the details while all of a sudden Akash's face fell. Before she could ask him, Shruti, his voice was not as energetic as before. Avantika auntie and Harish uncle died in a car crash 10 years ago. Bai and Anjali are with us after that. Bai was so adamant that he worked so hard to have his own empire. This, he showed the whole surrounding. He struggled so much to get it fame and he is now retaining its place in the field. He will always, no doubt in that. Shruti, never ever try to question him about his parents. Okay? Akash said softly. Shruti simply nodded as she is really shocked. Today, she came to know two things about him, his diabetes and his parents' loss. Shruti, Akash held her hand gently. You know, when we first saw you, instantly we were sure that you are going to be our buddy, no matter if you like us or not. That's why we felt at ease to share everything with you. He smiled with others. You guys kidding me? Of not liking you all? I never felt like this. As if I'm there with you all already. I would love to be a part of this cute gang. She had her cute smile with tears welling up in her eyes. Okay, stop. It's getting very emotional. I agree. Now changing the topic. Shruti, where are you staying now? I know hostel, but which one? Karan was really impossible. Shruti chuckled, and in the meantime, their lunch arrived as Karan had already placed their orders. They started to dig in while continued in working women's hostel. Deepali and Lavanya shot up to her. No way, they said together. What? Shruti stared everyone. These two are staying there only. Akash said, still munching some in his mouth. Really? She had a wide grin. Which room? Deepali asked excitedly. Yes, 24, Shruti replied. Have you settled there? It's now Lavanya, and Deepali knew what she meant. Nope, hardly kept my luggages. That's it. Shruti stared at Lavanya and Deepali as she couldn't figure what they are up to actually. We are in T22 and you are moving with us. Okay, we will help you to pack, unpack, whatever it is. Lavanya told with determination. One of our roomies, she left. And so you are with us now, Deepali said happily. Shruti smiled happily too, as what else she needs. God help this poor soul. Karan acted so innocently that Lavanya gave a nice slap in his forehead. Ouch, that hurts. He started to rub while Shruti giggled. She felt so alone when she came to Delhi, though she was the one who fought with her family for this job, as it was her dream to work in North India. Now she was literally jumping as she got a gang of cute friends and in addition, roomies too. Lunch went pretty well with more chats and laughs. Arav's point of view. It really surprised me as she never looked me as other girls do. Of course, I could flatter myself. I'm a handsome hunk. Okay, I know that. But this girl, she's really something. Not a day went, and already she's creating a great impact on me. I just watched her working even in lunch hour. I thought it's time to give her a ring. But what the? She is already talking with someone. That too with so much smile. In fact, I loved it. But the thought of her boyfriend didn't make me to sit, and I just strode towards her, not knowing exactly what to tell her if she questions me with her eyes and her voice, though I couldn't figure it. Her language. It felt like a warm music which will erode your pains. Vicky? Who is that? I was shocked. Boyfriend? Oh, thank God. Her brother Vignesh. I saw in her details, and how silly of me. No way. This girl is really shaking my core. The way she scared when she caught me staring at her, it was really hard for me to maintain my stiffness in front of her, and then came Akash. The thought that they are going to enjoy her company somewhat pierced my heart, and I don't know why, but I felt lonely all of a sudden, wondering, I always loved to be alone, and what the hell happened to me now? Chapter 6. Shruti, do you have a boyfriend? Karan asked out of nowhere while they were walking out of the cafeteria. I'm sorry, what? Shruti seriously didn't expect this. Boyfriend, never mind him, though we are very curious to know about him too. Now it's Akash. She cleared her throat. Mm, I don't have a boyfriend. She simply said, looking at them. Impossible. Deepali was wide eyed. Shruti giggled, watching her expression. Shruti, really? Don't lie that you never had any proposals. Or wait, don't you like boys? It's Lavanya to go wide eyed now, thinking of her own words. Oh, hold on, guys. Shruti raised her hand and started to laugh as they waited for the elevator. The elevator door opened and they got in. Pressing their floors, Shruti found stairs on her. Smiling again, she started. Seriously? She nodded her head negatively. First, I like boys. Okay? She noticed that they all breathed in relief. And yeah, I got so many proposals, but didn't like any. Before she could continue, why? You are very pretty. Sorry, can't help it. Karan said, scratching his back neck while throwing an apologetic look at Lavanya. Surprisingly, Lavanya just smiled at him as if agreeing his point. Shruti giggled. Simple. My mom is my best buddy, and she knows everything about me, even the proposals, and I just want her to select my life partner, as she always feels happy to do things for me, and every time her opinions were the best for me. So that's it. She ended. Arranged marriage? Deepali raised her eyebrows. Yep, Shruti stressed. Great, Lavanya exclaimed. Akash just gave her a side hug. You are really something, Shruti. Yes, I'm already jealous of your partner. Karan told and instantly got a nudge from Lavanya, which made everyone to giggle. The door opened. Standing there, really, Shruti? I mean it, Karan said and stood alert for the punches from Lavanya. Shruti's cheek turned to rosy tint. You are really very beautiful, Shruti. See you in the evening. Saying this, Deepali, along with others, got off to their floors. Once again, the door closed, leaving her to blush. It's not like her first time she got complimented for her beauty, but this is something special for her, from a cute gang of friends. Akash and Karan are really very genuine persons, while Lavanya and Deepali, for her, they are the real beauties. Lavanya with a lovely dimple, and Deepali, the way she blushes, wow. Her flow of thoughts interrupted when the lift opened, revealing Arav himself near her desk. Her blush fainted with her scare. She late? She checked her watch again while rushing towards her desk and obviously towards him too. Sir, am I late? Sir, she got cut off with his words. Nope. She simply looked at him. Had lunch? His eyes intensely gulped her. She couldn't tolerate his gaze, so she just nodded her head. Fine, back to work. Saying this, he turned to his cabin while loosening his tie a bit. She blinked her eyes, realizing what he did. So rude. Thinking it, she started with her work. An hour passed and her intercom buzzed. Before she could say anything, have you done with your presentation? His stern voice echoed through her ear. Yes, sir, she replied. Then come in with my coffee. That's it, he already cut off. She stared at the receiver and kept it in its place. Coffee? She murmured and checked the time. Still, time is there. She looked at him through the window, who was quite into his files. She shrugged and went to prepare his black coffee. Few minutes later, she went in with his coffee. Placing it carefully, she informed him about the presentation, which she was mailed him. Okay, I'll check it. You can go now. Saying this, he opened the presentation. She came to her seat and thought to check with his schedules to explore a little. She felt that he is way weird, but relieved a bit thinking about her previous boss. Snapping from her thoughts, she got engrossed with her work. When it was about time, Aarav came to her seat and told that the presentation was okay. Also, he questioned about his meetings next day, for which she replied that he got one with Mishras and then a lunch meeting with a client. You can leave now. Telling this, he walked back to his cabin. She took a heavy breath and convinced herself that he is like this only and she has to adjust with his nature. Arav's point of view. What the hell? Why she's taking this much long? I once again rechecked my time while pacing in my cabin. I finished my lunch 5 minutes before only. I don't know why, but I couldn't figure out the restlessness of myself. Damn it. Muttering under my breath, I walked towards her desk. My eyes roamed over her desk and surprised to see how neatly her things were kept, though it's only half a day. Thanks to the ding of the elevator, as I was clearly growing impatient when she walked out of it. Wait a minute. Is she blushing? Wow. I was taken aback with her tints. She is natural. While I was thinking this, her blush changed to something else. Oh my god, she is really scared of me. I just stared the way she had a look on her watch and rushed towards me. This will be interesting. To scare her for fun. I thought to have a smirk, but no, I stayed still. I really started to hate the word sorry coming from her mouth. I cut it off as usual and inquired about the lunch. I could not help but gaze at her. She simply nodded. I don't know whether I'm affecting her like she does to me or it's just fear. I carefully spilled my words, maintaining my rudeness, and strode to my cabin. It is really affecting me a lot. I loosened my tie, wondering I ever believed love at first sight. No, it felt silly to me, but even then. An hour rolled and I wanted a coffee. So I just asked her about the presentation, then ordered her to bring my coffee. I noticed how she stared at the receiver. Did I sounded that much desperate? I saw her checking the time. Oh no, thank God. I instantly looked at my files. Otherwise, she would have caught me staring at her. I let out a breath and looked up to find her seat empty. She kept her coffee right in front of me and talked about the presentation. I was in a hurry to pick the mug and sip it, but thanks to my self control, I just answered her and made her out without looking at her as if I was immersed with the presentation. The truth is, I want to enjoy every sip of her coffee, which I can't do it in front of her. Coming to her presentation, I was totally impressed with the way how she caught every single detail from the file. I wanted to appreciate her, but will it make her to compare me with her ex-boss? I should hold my attitude to her. I should stay tough. I know she's struggling to figure me out, and it's okay as I'm enjoying it. I need a break from her thoughts. She's clearly disturbing me a lot, and it's not at all helping me when I can see through the window. I want to make her leave. I know I sound weird. I went to her, and yeah, I can tell this through intercom, but I wanted to see her closely. I said the presentation was okay and asked about my schedule. Good, she's alert, and I like that. Finally, I asked her to leave, and yeah, rudely. What to do? She must try to adapt my nature. Chapter 7. Akash and Karan dropped the girls to their hostel. Karan didn't forget to wish Shruti for her room, especially with her roommates with a wink. Shruti giggled for that while Lavanya and Deepali threw a not fair look at him. As promised, Lavanya and Deepali helped her to move to their room and made her comfortable. Once they got settled, Shruti introduced them to her family through the video chat. Even they made Shruti to talk with Anjali in mobile. There was an instant likeness between them too. Arav's point of view. I sighed in frustration as I couldn't free my mind. I couldn't concentrate in my work, which I love a lot, and even though our seat is empty, her thoughts were clearly haunting me. What the hell? I muttered, running my hand through my hair. I shut everything, took my briefcase, and started home, thinking I could definitely change my mind there, without knowing what is waiting for me. When I stepped inside our Singh mansion, Anjali came towards me with a broad smile. Bye, I talked with Shruti. Her voice is so sweet and I like her. Saying this, she hugged me. Wait a minute. She talked with Shruti? This soon? Seriously? What is going on? These girls. I thought with a nod and headed to my room. After throwing my briefcase on the bed, I thought deeply. When did Anjali talk with my previous assistants? Never. Then why with Shruti? Why everyone is attracted to her? Yeah, including me, obviously. I rolled my eyes and held HP's name, Hari Prakash. He, along with Om Prakash, his brother, does every household works here, and I barely needed my coffee. Within few minutes, he came with my coffee. But what is wrong? This coffee sucks all of a sudden. And oh no, it's all her fault. And I can't shout at HP again. Poor fellow. How come he knows my inner turmoil? I then changed into my sweatpants and t-shirt, then went down to chat with others. Everyone seemed to be so engaged with their talks. So I settled and tried to listen them. What the? They all are talking about her? The one who is disturbing me now, Shruti. I took a deep breath and tried to glance the business magazine. Though I didn't involve with them, still my ears are flooding happily with her information and I'm loving it too. Everything. Her room in hostel, Lavanya and Deepali, her family, boyfriend. What? I couldn't help but shut up to listen to them. I felt so relieved coming to know about the arranged marriage thing. Unknowingly, I had a smirk playing on my lips. And it faded when Anjali asked me what I think about my new PA. I composed myself and told that it has been a day. Let's wait and watch. With that, we had our dinner and I retired to my room. I tossed and turned. I felt angry on myself. on how I can be easily affected by a girl, and worst part is how she must be feeling now. If she is calm and with peace, then definitely I will make sure to make her realize this sweet torture one day. I promised myself to be steady, and with that, I really don't know when sleep took me in. Next day, I did my daily workouts, now and then remembering my promise, and finally reached office by 8 a.m. When I opened my cabin, I was struck with what I saw. There she is arranging the files in the cabinet while humming something lovely with earphones on her, and she didn't notice me. She is stunning with her black tail cut kurti and red leggings. Her heel of a shoe was lying on the floor, and she is standing on the same chair which she dragged yesterday. I just drank her beauty. Then my promise came to my mind. I cleared my throat, but she couldn't hear me. I knocked my door hardly, and there she turned with a face full of horror, placing her hand on her chest. She clearly didn't expect me this early. She pulled her earphones instantly and thought to get down in a hurry. But while doing that, she slipped, and I ran, had her in my arms as if she's meant to fit with me. I could sense all my promises evaporating in the air with just our eye lock. Chapter 8. Both Arav and Shruti didn't know for how long they stood like that until his phone started to ring. Yeah, wrong timing. And Shruti left his lapel, which she has held accidentally. She clearly didn't know what to do. She couldn't meet his eyes. She felt something, a shiver running through her spine, as his hands were still on her, one in the back and other in the front resting on her waist. Her breaths went uneven. Arav came to reality and steadied her. Then he took his phone to answer the call. He cursed the caller who broke their moment. While he is answering, Shruti took the opportunity and picking her mobile, she ran out. Arav just watched her helplessly. But within a minute, she came shyly and tried to wear a shoe but couldn't as she was seriously shaking. Arav kept observing her, which made her condition even worse. Finally, she took her shoes in hand and walked out. Arav chuckled a bit as he felt it was cute. He ended his call and watched her through the window. Her eyes are closed, and it's obvious that she is composing herself. A smile played on his lips that he actually is affecting her. Then Shruti stood and went to get his coffee. Still, her hands were slightly shaky, and it's not that she didn't touch any mail before, but not in the wrong way. Definitely not. Shaking hands, holding, tapping, side X. But this touch, it was totally different. No one dared to touch her like that before. It was a spark or something. She couldn't figure it out. Shruti, we know he's hot, but he's our boss. He just helped you. That's it. Now chill. She chanted to herself, and with a clear head, she walked towards his cabin. There Arav thought like, what a lovely way to start your day. Then remembering his promise, he tried to stiffen himself. Come in. His husky voice echoed the room, and there she came in slowly. She placed his coffee without meeting his eyes. He just looked at her and then, what time is Mishra's meeting? He sounded bossy. She now looked at him and said, 10 o'clock, sir. Are you going to come like this? He looked straight in her eyes. She struggled and looked down herself. She then watched him, not knowing what he meant. He opened a file and checked it. Without raising his eyes, he said, I don't have any issue if you come like this, but is it okay for you? He's still in file. She stood quietly waiting for him to say something. You may go now. That's what came from his mouth. She sat in her seat and looked at herself again. What's wrong with me? She muttered and kept her hand on her head and tried to run through her hair, but her eyes went wide. It's now clear for her. She had tied her hair into a very messy bun in order to concentrate on the files in the cabinet. Good, she figured it. Arav had a smile and looked again in his file. There she lifted her eyes to see him. He seemed busy, She stood and ran to the restroom. Come in. Hearing his husky voice again, she got in. He now looked at her as now her hands were down. He had a smirk and it made her uneasy as she didn't know why his gazes were bothering her. What? There goes his bossy voice again. She's glad that she may survive if he's in this bossy mood. Sir, it's time to start, she said, holding her things. With a nod, he stood and walked past her. She followed him quietly. He settled in the driver's seat while she thought that her driver will be dropping them. Without further delay, she got in the passenger seat. Seat belt, his words alerted her. Nodding her head, she tried to put it, but she couldn't get why she's feeling strange in his presence, though his gestures were weird. She started to struggle nervously. He sighed. Without a warning, he touched her hand and moved it to her lap. She was totally shocked now. Then he did her belt and casually started his driving. They reached Mishra's building. It was a well-known commercial building, and when they entered, she thought they will go by the lift, as Mishra's office is in second floor. But she gulped when he started to walk towards the escalator. Aarav went while she hesitated a bit. When he turned to see her, she was still waiting down. What the? Escaped from his mouth. Before he could do something, she stepped in very carefully. He could easily sense her fear, which was written all over her face. She reached him and started for the next one. This time, he let her go first and followed her, just in case if she needs help. When they entered the conference hall, Adi came towards them. He is Mishra's son and Aarav's buddy. They shook their hands and pulled each other for a hug. Shruti just watched them. Hey, beauty, Adi said, turning to her. She just looked between Adi and Aarav. Aarav rolled his eyes as he knows very well that Adi loves to flirt with his previous assistants. But Shruti is different, so Aarav worried a bit. She is Shruti and he is Adi. Aarav introduced each other. Anyway, she got it that he is Mishra's son, since she has gone through their files. She smiled at him. Aarav went to meet Mishra while Adi checked her from head to toe. She started to fume, which Aarav didn't miss to notice. You're beautiful. Care to join for me at dinner tonight? He winked, making her to glare. No thanks, not interested. Saying this instantly, she stomped on his foot purposely and with a sorry, she rushed to Aarav, who was trying to hide a smirk. Adi walked to Aarav and muttered, Tigress, eyeing to her. Yep, tigress, Aarav thought to himself. Chapter 9. Aarav's point of view. I was a bit worried when Adi went to flirt with Shruti. I know that she is not like my previous assistants, but still deep inside I felt restless, thinking what will be her reaction, and yeah, I agree. Adi is also a very handsome person and girls drool over his attention too. He uses to flirt, but not really bad. He stops with a dinner. I sighed in relief when Shruti rejected his dinner proposal. Though it was not audible, I knew Adi very well, and dinner is always his usual thing. But when she stomped his foot, oh, this girl is really something. Fierce. I chuckled for her payback to him and smirked when she rushed to me like nothing happened. I just looked at her, for which she returned me a lovely smile. Eventually, her smile faded when I sensed Adi next to me. Throwing a glad towards him, she excused herself from us. Tigress, Adi muttered to me, eyeing her. Yep, tigress. I thought to myself, even more specific, my tigress. A small smile never left my lips. During the presentation, I kept looking at her, who seemed very busy in noting every minute detail. This is what impressed me about our work. She is sincere and now too didn't bother about our surroundings. Who was staring her like a candy, ready to eat. I fisted, taking a deep breath. How that they can even stare her? She's mine. Damn it. I wondered when I became this much possessive. I relaxed myself and tried to concentrate on the meeting. During our presentation, obviously we had a very loud applause, and I saw Shruti's face. She is really glowing with that white green. Yes, it's her first hard work here. Well, The meeting concluded and I shook with Mr. Mishra. When Adi looked at Shruti, she simply ignored him while her lips plastered with the fake smile, since Mr. Mishra was there. I tried to control my chuckle. Right now, I'm staring at her only. She's very busy with the menu. Yeah, my luck. A lunch meeting with a client got cancelled due to his emergency work. And usually I will be very furious for this as I don't like wasting my time. But today, no, it felt different. And what else I want? A lunch with her? Seems like a perfect lunch date for me. Without her knowledge, and that's the sad part. She didn't accept my offer instantly of having lunch in the same restaurant. She hesitated a bit, and I felt pissed. She then accepted it. Did she found something in my eyes? The way she looked at me? Great. I really need to be in control. I threw an amused stare on her for the way she is inquiring the waiter about the recipes and the spices. Wait a minute. Why she is worried about the spicy recipes? Won't she like spicy food? Oh no, I love spicy food. I cleared my throat, making her to stop, and she felt embarrassed. It was obvious that she had forgotten about me, who was sitting right in front of her. She lowered her eyes. But why? I actually enjoyed it. Whatever she's doing, it was pretty cute. You are taking too much time. Saying it, I looked at the waiter who came to my side. Usually I will go with lunch menu straight away, but today is exceptional. With a smirk, get 2 sets of pav bhaji. I ordered him and looked at Shruti saying, with less spice, for which she widened her eyes as if I got her. I like to have pav bhaji at any time. I started to have mine while she took small bites thinking whether or not to touch that curry. I chuckled and finished mine. She too finished it, but only her buns. The curry remained untouched and she looked at my plate, which was almost empty. She didn't know how to react. Never had pav bhaji before? I asked her, looking straight with a stern voice. She struggled to reply me, and with a scary look, she nodded like yes. Damn it. I cursed under my breath. She didn't like it. Well, I can't blame her. She's different. I can't force her to like it. It's her wish, and I respect that. It's okay, I said, signaling the waiter, and next minute it was cleared. Order whatever you want, I told her. She simply nodded again and spilled a set of naans with Navratna Kurma. I shot up. Is she crazy? Meeting my eyes once, she said, I love sweets, and looked at her lap. Sir, would you like to have the same? The waiter asked politely. No, she almost shouted. What the? I muttered. Realizing what she has done, she calmed herself and said, He can't have sweets. I just stared at her intensely. She knew about my diabetes? Wow. Thinking it, I looked again at the waiter and ordered my usual lunch menu. She's not comfortable with me? Am I scaring her like hell? No way. Wait, am I bothering her with my presence? I smirked. Yes. She couldn't meet my eyes. To reduce the tension, are you scared of escalator? I asked her. Instantly she looked at me and then, a bit. Actually, I got slipped once. So still, she stared at her plate. Scared about it? I finished it for her. She looked at me and nodded shyly. Sir, the waiter kept the bill near my side. I found her looking at it. She seems a little curious. I kept my hand on it, making her gaze to fall on me. I raised my eyebrows, looking sternly. She bit her lip and lowered her eyes. I smiled at her, and after settling the bill, let's go. I stood and strode towards the exit. She tried to catch up with me while a lopsided grin never left my lips. Chapter 10. Few days rolled on. Both Arar and Shruti got busy with their works and tried to compose themselves, though they didn't stop to steal glances at each other without getting caught. Happy birthday, Shruti! Lavanya and Deepali screamed happily at midnight. Shruti rubbed her eyes as she just got her sleep, thanks to a crazy family who told them about her birthday. Thanks, guys. She smiled and blew the candle, and the cake looked yummy. After having fun and attending the calls from family and friends, Shruti settled in her bed. This is the year she is not with her family, but with Lavanya and Deepali really made her forget about it. She thought about her brother and instantly chuckled, remembering how he used to wish her for her next birthday now itself, giving an explanation that he must be the first one to wish her. She nodded her head like unbelievable and yes, her family is like that only. Even she will warn her family not to scold her on her birthday, even if she does something naughty. She always used to tell them to hold on it and scold her the next day. Yeah, crazy girl, crazy family. Shruti, hey birthday baby, wake up! Lavanya literally shook her shoulders. Guys, let me sleep. Her eyes were still shut. Deepali, it's not working. Get the bucket. Lavanya's words instantly made Shruti to wake up, muttering, I'm up. She sat, making Lavanya and Deepali to laugh like anything. This is not fair. It's my birthday. She pouted, rubbing her eyes. Oh, cute. Deepali pinched her nose. Now get up. We are getting late. Deepali ordered her. Yes, ma'am. Shruti gave her a salute and rushed to the bathroom. I'm ready. How do I look? Shruti asked them while staring in the mirror with a sweet smile. She turned to them as they didn't respond to her. They simply stared her and blinked their eyes. She's wearing a red cotton silk sari due to her birthday. It's simple and elegant with unique borders. Do I need to change? She questioned them, looking at herself. Shruti, you look so pretty. Sir is gone. Lavanya just said that. What? Shruti was wide eyed and really shocked as she couldn't get their meaning also. She worried whether they have noticed her changes. She snapped from her own thought as she was sure that she stayed unaffected. This is Aarav sir's favorite color. What will be his reaction when he sees you? Deepali said excitedly. I must change. Shruti turned, but they immediately caught her. Are you kidding? No way, you're coming with us now. Saying this, they dragged her out. Akash and Karan gave her side hugs and wished her. She gave sweets to them and went to her floor. She settled in her place, but got all nervous, suddenly remembering Lavanya's words. Already she couldn't stop his intense gaze, though she deeply enjoys the feel. She shot up when the lift dinged, and there he came, as usual, looking handsome with a suit. Without looking her, Shruti, get me? His words altered when his eyes caught her standing near her seat. He couldn't help it. He gulped nervously and gazed her from head to toe while Shruti was totally turned to a tomato. He smirked, looking at her state and also angry with her for making his state worse too. I'll get your coffee, sir. Saying this, she rushed towards the lift. He chuckled a bit and strode towards his cabin. Damn it, how I wanted to wish her, but got tongue tied. It's all her fault. I was good with my emotions, but now, he sighed, going to be a very long day. He muttered himself, loosening his tie and turning on his laptop. Shruti clutched her heart as if it will help her pounding heart to calm. Shruti, you're gone. It's just the start of our day. And how are we going to manage a stare till evening? Stupid art, stupid Shruti. She scolded herself. Very bad idea to wear sari. That to this color. Mom, she stomped. It's your fault for picking this and instinct to wear today. She took a breath. Hey, you like this color too, so don't blame mom alone. By the way, he will look at you no matter whatever you wear. Her heart was right. She sighed, agreeing that, and went to his cabin with his share of sweets. Come in. His husky voice didn't help her beating. Happy birthday, Shruti. His words made her to look him straight, who was sitting with crossed legs and his elbows on the armrest and his fingers end to end resting on his chin. She simply stared him, and when he raised his brow for her, not getting any reaction, she managed a thanks, sir, with a smile. She placed the tray on the table. He hid the sweet and looked at her. Sugar free, sir. Saying this, she lowered her eyes, making him to smile contentedly. He sipped his coffee while his eyes refused to move from her. Her breathing got heavy due to his continuous gaze. Realizing it, what's my schedule today? He asked her sternly. She relieved and talked about his meetings. With a nod, he asked her to leave, though it was very hard for him. She didn't miss to have fun with the gang during lunch. Till evening, it was a torture for her. Due to his stubborn nature, he couldn't let his heart do whatever it wants with Shruti. All he did is taking her beauty, which is clearly a feast for his longing eyes. She looked from her laptop due to the ding sound of the lift. A young lady dressed so revealing walked towards Arav's cabin. Excuse me, miss? Shruti stopped her politely, for which she threw a disgusting stare on Shruti, especially on her way of dressing. May I know your name, please, so that I can inform sir about your visit? Saying this, Shruti took her receiver. Hey, you! How dare you stop me? You and your disgusting face. With this, that lady went in, while Shruti was clearly taken aback. Shruti looked through the window for Arav's reaction as she is now scared. She noticed that he had stiffened himself on seeing her and his face spitted anger, while that lady didn't bother about it. She went near to him and tried to sit on the table, but he stood instantly, making her to move back, but she seemed to be composed. She walked towards him and placed her palm on his chest while the other went to his cheek. Shruti felt so much pain that she couldn't name it that time. He showed her hands mercilessly. Shruti is really scared of his temper, which is emitting right now in his face. He just caught Shruti's eyes. He gritted his teeth and signaled her to come to his cabin. Shruti gulped and knocked on his cabin door. Come in! His yell echoed in the floor. Shruti is literally shaking and couldn't meet his eyes. How dare you! With that, he strode quickly to Shruti, pinning her to the door behind. She just froze. What the hell are you doing, Shruti? He held right on her face. Tears welled up automatically, making her so fragile. Shutting his eyes for a second, he moved back and turned to that lady who was shaking too. You, Sheetal, this is your final warning. And don't ever dare to step your dirty foot in my office. Otherwise, you have to face the consequences. He threatened her, pointing his finger. Now, get lost! His yell made Sheetal to almost run from there. He turned to Shruti, whose tears started to rolling on her cheeks. Shruti, before he could say anything, she wiped her tears, uttering, Very sorry, sir. I tried to stop her. She struggled without meeting his eyes. Please excuse me. Saying this, she went out. Chapter 11. Shruti's Point of View. I couldn't control the tears that are messing over my cheeks right now. I looked at the mirror in the washroom. My reflection is clearly indicating how much hurt I am. Stupid tears! I wiped with the back of my palm. Why it can't control from falling? It's my birthday. And I saw his scary side. I trembled. I thought I saw his upset in his eyes when I hesitated to have lunch with him that day. I didn't know why, but all I wanted was to make him happy. I'm not scared to have lunch with males. I have done that before, both professionally and also with my other buddies in my native. But with Arav, I felt something different. I'm feeling content and also scared due to his effect on me. I couldn't mask it easily. I realized that he was normal with his stares and especially with his smirks till that lady, what's her name? Sheetal, came into the picture. Even I noticed how he disliked her presence by stiffening himself. She literally threw herself on him. How dare she? I muttered and wide eyed looking at myself in the mirror. What's wrong with me? I touched my forehead. Why do I feel sad when she touched him? My beatings went rapid as if my poor heart will jump out any time. No, no, this can't be. This can't be happening. I nodded my head. I should control it. It's nothing. Otherwise, I will get hurt at the end. He is my boss, nothing else. Only mom has the right to pick my partner. That's it. That's it, Shruti. I looked myself again with a determination. I washed my face and walked out. But little did I know that I will have a war with my heart and brain. Arab's point of view. Damn it! I fisted the table while I thought what I did to Shruti. I made her cry on her birthday. What a worse man I am. I ruined her day because of my temper. Damn Sheetal. I ran my hands through my hairs in frustration. Everything was going smoothly between us, even though in a slow pace, and I'm actually enjoying it. Today is her birthday, and the way she looked in that sari, my favorite color. Oh God, she really have no idea how hard it is for me to keep my hands off her. She simply stole my heart, and I'm so restless with the thought that she's right in front of me, but I couldn't do anything about it. I knew that my gaze is affecting her just like hers doing to me. I really don't want to scare her by hurrying everything. I want to take it slowly and cherish everything about her. I was simply feasting her beauty while longing for her to be in my arms. How dare she? Sheetal! She ruined my mood, and how many times I had warned her. Even then, she's throwing herself to me. Such a shameless girl. Because of her type girls, I'm rude like this, and to be honest, only Shruti is breaking my walls with her innocence. But what I did was a very huge mistake. When I saw Shruti watching us, I simply lost my control. Damn, how I wanted her near me, but this Sheetal was trying to take her place. Never. That's purely for Shruti. I'm hers, and she's mine. I shook my head, realizing how crazy she's driving me. I never intended to be rude to Shruti, but in anger, I just strode towards her and trapped her. How I wanted to cup her face and crash my lips to hers. Only God knows how I managed it. And I was very angry with her that how come she can see me with Sheetal? Don't she feel jealous? I was furious and I just crushed her with my harsh words, though I know she has nothing to do with it. I don't know what I had said. The only thing I wanted to convey her is that Sheetal is nothing to me and she's my everything. I know that's too early for her to realize my feelings for her. Even then, here I'm pacing in my cabin thinking how to sort it, how to convince her. Come in, I said, hearing the knock. I knew it must be Shruti since she didn't return to her seat after my harsh encounter. I don't know how she will be taking it. The door opened and revealed her, red eyes and pale face. Damn, I muttered under my breath. Sir, your coffee. She placed the tray on the table without even looking at me. When I didn't reply, she slowly raised her head and looked at me. I held my fist because I was the one responsible for her horrible state now. Sir, is there anything else you need? She said softly, as if nothing had occurred, while I simply stared her face. She looked down, then again moved her eyes to me. If there's nothing, can I start now? Since the office hours are about to end, I want to go, if you don't mind. She dragged. Yes, you can leave. Those are the words that came out from my mouth. I watched her go, arrange her things, and then taking her bag, she went towards the lift. I stood helplessly. Damn, I need her. Chapter 12. Shruti's eyes welled up again. She's really very sensitive, even though she's naughty. It was really hard for her to blink her tears away. She tried to smile when she reached Lavanya. Hey, birthday baby! Lavanya smiled at her, but instantly it faded. Hey, Shruti tried her best to be normal, but her eyes obviously showed her state. What's wrong? Lavanya questioned her with concern. Nothing. Just want to go to room. Missing mom, you know. She faked a smile. Lavanya knew very well that the reason behind her condition, of course, is that Sheetal. And how many times she has seen Aarav fuming in anger whenever that Sheetal visits here. She felt pity on Shruti. Poor her, not on her birthday. She knew that Shruti didn't know anything about that Sheetal. Arav's temper must have blasted on her. Without delaying further, do you want me to go with you? She asked. No, no, still office timing is there. I kind of got permission from sir. So let me go first. Then you guys join me later. Telling this, she made to the exit, while Lavanya sighed sadly. She informed about this to Akash and Karan. They both rushed to her, and when they heard about Shruti's mood, they straightaway went to the lift to confront their big bro. Arab seemed restless when her words constantly ringed in his ears. If there's nothing, can I start now? Since the office hours are about to end, I want to go, if you don't mind. Damn it. He gritted his teeth in anger. She couldn't stand my presence due to my behavior. That much she's hurt. He took a deep breath. Come in, he almost said in frustration. Bye. Akash came to him. Bro, this is not fair. Karan too came near him. Harav simply glared them. Bye. Akash dragged. I know. Harav said simply, giving his answers for the unspoken words from Akash. They both have a unique bond in understanding each other, unlike Karan, who is always loud with laughter and a carefree person. Akash sighed, as he knew very well what must be going in Arav's mind right now. Arav went and stood near the window staring out. Akash dialed to Lavanya to ask about Shruti. What? She's not in the room? Akash replied a bit loud, making Arav to look sideways, indicating that he is listening. Oh, she's in temple. Good. You and Deepali start soon. He listened to her. You guys sure? You two can take care of it? Fine. Let me know how she's doing. Okay. With that, Akash ended the call and looked at Arav, who got everything. Bye, you made her cry on her birthday. Anjali angrily stood with her hands on her hip as soon as Arav and Bros entered their mansion. Yes, he sighed and ruffled her hair, making her to shake her head in anger. Before she could say anything, he said, I know, guiltily and strode towards his room after ordering a black coffee. Anjali looked at Akash, who blinked his eyes in an assuring manner that everything will be all right. She felt sad for Shruti, though they didn't meet it. Shruti, are you okay? Deepali asked for the nth time, extending her teacup. She took it and smiled weakly. You going to say this to your mom? Lavanya asked her as she knew that Shruti won't hide anything to her mother. When Shruti nodded like no, she was taken aback in surprise. Even Shruti didn't know why she didn't want to tell this to her mom. Is she trying to get a good impression for Arav from her family? But why? She got shocked of her own thought and snapped from it literally. Shruti, before you judge about Arav Bhai, let us explain you why this has happened. Deepal initiated it. Bhai? Shruti looked at them questioningly. Yes, bye. Lavanya replied and continued. Shruti, he's not like what you think. He's like this in office, but in home, he's a totally different person. A very caring and naughty one indeed. Shruti is surprised to know this side of him and listened attentively. This Sheetal is none other than our classmate, but she's so into her that we didn't befriend her, and she's the daughter of Mishra uncle. Shruti went curious and asked, Hadi's sister? Yes. Lavanya and Deepali both nodded. I don't like him too, so flirty, Shruti said disgustedly. Deepali laughed and told, he just flirty. Nothing else. He's totally harmless. He will stop with dinner and he is very good compared with Sheetal. It seems he had eat you too, just like boys' other assistants. Teasingly. Shruti's angry stare answered them and they both giggled. I really want to ask one thing to you guys. Do you have mingled with other assistants just like with me? Shruti looked at them. Nope, both said in unison. What? Shruti was stunned. Yep, only with you, Deepali said, smiling at her. Me? Why? She's taken aback in surprise. Only with you, idiot. We felt that you're one of us, that too instantly. Lavanya said, just like pinching Shruti's nose. Ouch, it hurts. Shruti rubbed her nose while the other two giggled at the childish act. Okay, enough with this. Tell me the rest. Now Shruti is in serious mode. You tell. Lavanya nudged Deepali, so she continued. From the moment when Sheetal laid her eyes on Aarav Bai, she's head over heels in with him. But he didn't give a damn to her. She giggled. And we too didn't like her. But Mishra uncle is a very good hearted person and he didn't even force Bai, as he knows very well about his own daughter. So he warned her not to bother Boy, but still she's showing her ugly face here and there, making Bai to fume, which resulted in today's explosion. And you became the bite, the end. They looked at Shruti. Shruti took a deep breath. She somehow felt that there must be a strong reason for the way he reacted on her. Now she's clear, and a satisfied smile erupted on her lips. Her heart was dancing against her brain. Now you okay? Deepali asked her. Shruti simply nodded her while Lavanya was in the phone conveying the message to the Singhs. Next day, when Shruti went to her desk, her eyes widened in surprise. There laid a birthday card along with a beautiful bouquet of roses. Also, one more card was placed at the bottom. It was a sorry card. Shruti read it and blinked as she couldn't believe her own eyes. It was a handwritten one which had the following message. I'm sorry, Shruti. I didn't mean to hurt you this badly, especially on your birthday. It wasn't clearly my intention. My anger blinded me. Hope you understand. Arav. Chapter 13. Shruti stood like a statue while intaking the message. She didn't even expect an apology from Arav, as she has already forgiven him. Forgiven what? She never was angry with him, just upset a bit. Her crazy heart was overwhelmed with joy for an unknown reason. She took a breath and came to reality. Her fingers very slowly grazed the petals and took it back instantly when she felt it's artificial. She just leaned to it to observe, as it looks like original. Even the fragrance has fooled her. How come? Muttering this, she took a hold of that bouquet and inhaled the sweet smell. She closed her eyes while cherishing it. Her lips curved, resulting in a cute smile. She never thought that he will do this, while all she has heard is his rude nature. She rolled her eyes, remembering what Lavanya and Deepali told last night. Now her fingers played with the petals, making her heart very light from heaviness. Arav kept watching her every move and actually got amused by it, as usual. He thought how he paced last night in his room to bring her mood back, how he assured himself not to hurt her again in the future. His lips lifted to a smirk, seeing her reaction to his gift. He never ever has gifted something to a girl apart from his family members and close buddies. He couldn't hold it anymore, so he walked to her. Shruti was staring at the handwritten card. She actually admired his cursive form. She never thought his writing will be this awesome. Wait, is this writing or someone else has written for him? She thought and shook her head for her craziness. She jumped when Harav cleared his throat in front of her. She steadied herself, which earned a chuckle from him. She tucked her hair behind her ear and slowly looked at him, who was staring her intensely. She gulped and moved her eyes away. You like my apology? He said while showing his hands in his pockets. She shot up and slowly nodded her head as his eyes were eagerly waiting for her reply. Good. With this, he extended his hand to her. She blinked her eyes and looked at him. He signaled her to shake. With a bit of hesitation, she reached for him. Once their hands touched, she felt sparks inside her, and his grip became firm, spreading warm sensation to both. All her little hesitation went up in air. Will you forgive me? He asked her, looking straight in her eyes. She was stunned and again nodded her head as words got stuck in her throat. Are you angry with me? His words somehow are surprising her. She nodded like no. Thanks. With that, he gave a genuine smile, which she too reciprocated. They stood like that, staring each other for how long they didn't know, with their hands in hold. His message tone made them to break their hold. She couldn't meet his eyes as her cheeks reddened due to her act. She cursed herself for holding his hand for so long. She felt nervous and started to fidget with her hands. While he just observed her and got angry on himself for holding her hand too. But deep down, he knows how badly he wanted to pull her to his chest and hold her tight. He sighed helplessly. When their eyes met, there was an awkward silence. The lift dinged, making them to breath, which they held tight due to the tense moment. Deepali came to them, beaming. Hey, how are you doing? She asked Shruti, for which she smiled in return. Deepali checked around and continued. Bye. Did Anjali inform you about our get together today? Aarav looked at Shruti, who was smiling at Deepali's way of addressing. Deepali! He started, but she stopped him and said, She knows everything, bye, and also no one is here. Aarav just rolled his eyes. Yes, I know. Okay. She turned to Shruti. Shruti, on behalf of your birthday, yesterday, we are inviting you for a treat today. And Anjali Amunji too will be there too to finally meet you. Actually, you must be the one treating us. But what to do? We are practically a family. So, reverse case. She giggled and Shruti giggled too. Bye. Before she could start, he cut her off saying, Yeah, I know. I will bring her there. She just went to him and hugged his elbow. Arav smiled at her affectionately. Of course, she and Lavanya are his sisters too. In fact, he is the one who supported their love stories. Shruti stared at them lovingly as she's starting to get used to this side of him. Deepali suddenly squealed, making them to jerk all of a sudden. What the? Arav was the first to react. What is this? Deepali went near the bucket and checked it. When her eyes landed on the cord, she muttered, No way, bye. She turned to him. Arav had a smile as he knows what she is referring. You wrote this? Deepali asked with wide eyes. His nod made her to continue. Pinch me bye. Am I dreaming? Ouch! He pinched her really. Shruti was struck with their convo. Shruti, apart from his, boy has never even given cards to the girls. During his college days, many girls got hurt because of his rude attitude. Proposals. But this is, oh, I need to tell others. Shruti just looked at him and his eyes met hers. Again, a ring made them back to reality. It's now Shruti's. Yes, ma. நான் நல்லா இருக்கேன். நீங்க? அப்பா? விக்கி? என்ன? அலைன்ஸா? இப்ப என்னம்மா அவசரம்? ஓகே. I know. அனுப்புங்க. Bye. When she ended her call, both Arav and Deepali were staring at her as they couldn't figure it properly. Care to explain? Deepali pouted, making Shruti to giggle. Arav thanked Deepali inside. Mom was talking about my marriage proposals. She altered and looked at Arav, who has now stiffened but trying to maintain his composure. She hesitatingly continued as Deepali is eagerly listening to her. She will send the groom's pictures to me. She lowered her eyes as she didn't know why, but not want to look him. Wow, that's lovely! Deepali almost clapped her hands. It's a double treat. She nudged Shruti playfully. Shruti, get me my coffee. With that, Arav strode towards his cabin while fuming inside. Deepali too checked her time and waved her by. Shruti stood there alone, not knowing what to do. Chapter 14. While preparing his coffee, Shruti recalled how he stiffened hearing about her marriage proposals. Shruti, don't overreact, okay? It's nothing. She somehow convinced her pounding heart and got ready to go inside the lion's den. Come in. His stern voice made her to shiver unknowingly. Placing his coffee carefully, she stood aside knowing that his complete attention is on her. Feeling a chill on her, she stood holding her breath. He stood and took his cup and came near her. She started to get nervous. Sit. His one word made her to sit obediently while he sipped his coffee, going to his window and kept his eyes firmly fixed only on her. She took some courage to raise her eyes to meet, but instantly regretted for her decision, as his eyes were just eating her alive. She had uneven breaths. Now he didn't even care if she gets scared or caught him while staring her. All he wanted is to mark her his. He wanted her to get his message by all means. On the other hand, Shruti felt so weird. She didn't know why she is not reacting for a stare, means in a normal way, which she used to give when others ogle at her. Her nose skirts and furious stares are enough till now to make others move their eyes from her. But he's exceptional. His stares were like backfired and she is simply speechless. He placed his empty cup on the tray while she still seated in her place and looked at her intertwined fingers on her lap. He strode towards her. When Shruti raised her head to him, it was too late, as within a blink he was in front of her and rotated her chair to face him and held the armrest in both the sides there, trapping her in the middle. She was completely frozen for his sudden closeness. She struggled to look at him. Finally, she thought it's better not to look at him that too this close. Her heart is pounding vigorously. She really had no doubt that he could actually hear her beatings. Gaining some control, Sir, what are you doing? Still, she stuttered, looking away. Marriage proposals? His words made her to look at him instantly. Their eyes met and it had its own magic. So this is the reason of his weird stares? But why? As usual, she blinked there by breaking their eye lock. He kept his eyes on her, still waiting for her reply. Marriage proposals? She questioned him in return. Yep. Are you going to settle down? His words were really surprising her today, not only his words, his actions too. My mom wants that, she replied slowly. What about you? He spelled instantly, still holding her in a strap. Me? She looked his eyes straight to find out the answers. Yes. Clearly, his anger is reflecting in his eyes. Well, if my mom wants, then. She dragged, but cut off by him. Damn it, you can't! He gritted his teeth. Why? She's back. You can't means you can't. He's losing his patience. But why? She wants his reply. You can't quit this job just like that. He took his hands from the armrest and panted heavily due to his temper. Oh, was the only word came from her mouth. He's so frustrated that he ran his fingers in his hair. She slowly stood to her feet. Just sending pictures doesn't mean that I'm going to get married right now, she told while looking at the floor. Whatever, he said as if he is not interested now. What? She looked at him in disbelief, as he is the one who just now bombarded her with questions and now he is acting like nothing happened. You can leave. He shoved his hands in his pockets. What's wrong with him? She mouthed herself, frowning a bit. Did you say something? He took a step to her. That's it. She got alert and with a nothing, she almost ran from his cabin. He had a smile at last as her answer was enough for now. Oh God! She held her chest while panting heavily. Please don't make me face him again. He looked up as if she was talking with a god. Then, blowing the hair out, she tried to concentrate with her works, which seemed impossible at that moment. Hey Shruti! By lunch, her crazy gang came to their floor itself. Guys, aren't we supposed to be in cafeteria? She questioned them. Yep, but we came to see this. Saying this, Lavani and others started to inspect the bouquet and the cards given by Aarav. What's going on? Shruti couldn't believe their childish act. See, I told you guys, Deepali exclaimed as if they didn't hear Shruti's words. Aarav kept staring at them. Akash caught his glance and moved to his cabin. Bye, he started teasingly. What? Aarav answered as nothing got God. Bye? Seriously? You can hide to others, but not to me. You know very well that I can see through you. I'm your bro. Akash smiled at him while crossing his arms over his chest. Arav smiled genuinely. Akash saw Shruti through the window and said, Perfect, bro. He winked at Arav, for which Arav just smirked, as he knows that he can't hide his feelings from Akash and vice versa. Chapter 15. Arav looked at Shruti, who's right now getting tickles from Lavanya and Deepali, while Karan was staring at the card. She's turning red due to the laughter. Arav felt like she's always cute whatever she does. Okay, let me help my Bobby. This is going out of hand. Akash hurried out for Shruti's rescue, while Arav chuckled and felt happy about his addressing. Enough, leave her, you two. Saying this, Akash came to Shruti and gave her a side hug, holding her shoulder gently. You okay? He asked with concern. Yeah, Shruti is still catching her breath. After giving a firm grip on her shoulder, he left her. It was meant like he's so happy that she's not going anywhere but to end up in their home with them. She felt something different with his hold, not like he's not concerned before, but now it felt like he's too protective something. She brushed it though and smiled. Arav smiled too, and is sure that from now onwards, Akash will be the first person to defend Shruti apart from him. He just loves his family and is so excited of making Shruti a part of it, especially main part of him. Shruti got a call an hour before from Lavanya that they all winded up and will meet her directly in the restaurant. She looked at her watch and it ticked 5 p.m. She didn't know whether to start or not. She hesitatingly looked up and as usual he is staring her only. She gulped, thinking what's behind his continuous gaze. She lowered her eyes and thought to pack her stuffs. Her intercom buzzed, jerking her a bit. Once she heard his voice, her eyes went to him, and without breaking their eye contact, he told her to come in. She hung the call and walked to his cabin. Well, his eyes roamed her from head to toe, making her to tense up. Do you need to change? His eyes altered with hers. What? She looked confused. He rolled his eyes and stared at her again. You look good. No need to change. Saying this, he stood up, circling his key in his finger, walked past her. She couldn't figure what he meant and stood rooted there. He turned to her once he reached the door, as she's not following him. He walked back to her and raised his brow. She gasped a bit as finally realization dawned on her small brain. She looked at herself and unknowingly her cheeks turned color, as he has, in fact, given a compliment to her. She let out a breath and couldn't meet his eyes. He smirked, watching her state. 10 minutes. Meet me in the lobby. Saying this, he walked out. She blinked and hurriedly got her bag. She then rushed to the restroom. When she went to lobby, he was there, scrawling something in his phone. She closed the gap, but before she could say something, Good, come. His voice made her eyes wide, as he didn't even look up, and she wondered how come. She followed him blindly. He opened the door for her, but when she didn't step in, he looked at her. What? His word made her to jerk to reality. Hmm, how did you know? It's me. She looked at the floor. He chuckled and leaned a bit to her. I can smell you. His answer made her froze. Her eyes went wide again. She thought to check whether she smelled bad. In a good way, he told as if he read her and continued. Now step in. This made her to take a seat. She sat quietly and he didn't miss to check her here and there. She had turmoil inside. How come? Shruti's heart asked her brain. You idiot! Whatever you think, it's picture clear in your face. Her brain glared angrily. Isn't it a good thing? Her heart replied innocently. Yeah, good thing. But not every good thing will end in a good way. Some will have side effects, and you have to face it. Her brain told sarcastically. Hey! Her heart defended. What the? Arav's trademark word stopped everything. She saw him blankly. What's with the frown? Now he frowned. She took some seconds to say nothing. Nodding his head, he concentrated on the road. See, that's what I'm talking about. Her brain raised its chin and folded arms across its chest. You aren't helping, her heart told with a puppy face. Fine, think about giving something to them, like a gift. They are lovely people. Giving treat, which you should have done. Her brain gave her some diversion. Thanks, her heart jumped happily. She looked out and all of a sudden screamed, Stop! Are you nuts? He almost held a playing brake. What? He asked her when she couldn't reply. I want to go there. She pointed her finger to a shop where flowers and sweets are displayed. Wait, that's it came from him before he parked his car properly. Do you want me to come? He said like a command. No thanks, she said instantly. Okay, he shrugged, but make it fast. He looked at her. She gave a nod and rushed in. He saw her watching everything along with, What? She's biting her nail. Unbelievable. He chuckled and checked his messages. She finally landed her eyes on a cute boutique holding silver hot chocolates. She got three for the three cute couples. Then she turned and saw Arav. She bit her lower lip thinking whether she should get something for him or not. What if he doesn't like it? Her heart pounded. Shruti, be brave. Take some risk. She muttered herself and looked for some flowers. She took a red one, which caught her eyes instantly. A small smile crept on her lips and immediately it faded. Very bad idea, Shruti. Saying this, she kept it in its place and lastly took a boutonniere having a white rosebud. I'm ready, even if he scolds me. Thinking this, she came out. When she neared him, she looked at him, and obviously his eyes are fixed on her only. Done? He asked with folded arms over his chest. She nodded and nervously extended the white rose to him. For you. Her heart is literally ready to jump out in fear. He raised his brow and looked behind her. She too turned to find the shop where she is coming from. You sure? You were seeing something else? He teased her. What do you mean? She thought to lower her hand, which is holding his rose, but before she could do that, he took the flower from her hand and totally surprised her. She still looked puzzled. Nice, but if it was my favorite color, I would be very happy. He looked at her eyes. Now she clearly got what he meant. Do you know my favorite color? He questioned her. Without looking him, she nodded her head. What? He wants it from her mouth. Red. She looked somewhere. What's your favorite color? She looked at him instantly. Red, she answered him and looked away. He took a step to her. Then why not red? She gulped nervously and mentally slapped her forehead that he must have seen her checking the red one. I can't. I can't give that. She struggled. Why not? He took another step to her. It will. It will mean. She took a breath. I'm waiting. He looked cool and smirked for her struggle. White is for purity and perfection. She looked at him, somehow managing it. He felt disappointed a second, but he's back. He closed the gap. So you think I'm perfect? His eyes locked us. She nodded without any words. They stood like that and again interrupted by a ring. Of course, his phone. Damn. Cursing under his breath, he answered. Akash. Oh, bye. Wrong timing, I guess, he teased. Shut up. Harav rolled his eyes. We are waiting, he dragged. On the way, saying this, he shut his cell. Chapter 16. In the meantime, Shruti took this opportunity and got settled in the passenger seat. Her uneven breath is still bothering her. She placed her hand over her chest and tried to compose. What's wrong with me? She questioned herself. Today is the day she had a very long conversation with him. Not only that, not to forget the closeness. She felt a relief that it's dinner and everyone will be there. And what else can happen? But she's wrong. Her day is not even ended, and for sure it's going to be a long one. Are you okay? He sat in his seat. She perfected a smile with a nod. She looked out thinking he will start, but it didn't happen. With a doubt, she turned to him only to find him staring at her with a smile. She looked down and waited as she didn't know what to say. She felt nervous. So, white one for perfection? She shot up to him with wide eyes that he is in fact continuing it. Yeah, she forced a smile as she started to shiver. He sensed it. Here, pin it. He held the white rose to her. She looked at him. What? He said, moving his stare between her and the rose. Are you going to wear it? She asked in a doubt. Of course, he shrugged. You got this for that only, right? He asked her. She nodded lightly. Don't you want me to have it? He said a bit disappointingly. No, I didn't mean that. As I thought you won't wear it, and it's used in a different occasion, right? She looked down, biting her lower lip. I want to. His reply made her to lock her eyes with them. So many answers are sparkling in his eyes. She struggled. Would you? He held it again. This time, she took it and pinned it on his coat, while her fingers trembled with his closeness. His eyes never left her, and that made her condition even worse. She tucked her hair behind her ear and looked out as she couldn't tolerate its intense gaze. She felt a knot in her stomach, which is very new to her. On the other hand, he started to drive with a smile. He knew that she couldn't get what will happen if they go like this. He with the white boutonniere and she with a bouquet. Oops, bouquets. His smirk extended to a smile as they will look like a couple and what else he wants. His eyes glinted with naughtiness. He parked it and they started towards the gang. He walked beside her with one hand in his pocket and the other scrolling his phone. She is holding her bouquets, though it is in the cover, it's visible. Couple of them glanced at them, making Shruti to check herself if something is wrong. Aarav chuckled as he noticed that. There they are, Lavanya told the rest. Anjali gasped, looking at them, while Akash whistled naughtily, winking at Aarav. Shruti looked back to see what's happening, which made Akash to whistle, and it earned a chuckle from both Aarav and Akash. Aarav sat in the empty seat. Anjali came to her with Aman. Both Anjali and Shruti looked at each other since it's their first meeting that too directly. Shruti is the first to break their lock and handed the bouquets to the couples. Cool! Wow! Both Lavanya and Deepali are excited. Shruti looked at Anjali's reaction, who just kept the bouquet in the table and pulled her for a tight hug. Someone's jealous. Akash teased, looking at Aarav, while Aman rescued Shruti from Anjali. Let her breath, he told to Anjali, which made her to nudge him in the gut. Shruti? He's Aman. My. She blushed heavily. I know. Shruti giggled. Aman stepped to her and gave a side hug affectionately. Brother in law, I will be the one doing that. Akash came and gave her one. Shruti felt very happy thinking Akash resembles her bro Vicky in many ways. Did I miss something? Karan poked and pulled Shruti gently for his turn. Arav sat there and watched coolly. He smirked that the day is not long when she will be in his arms permanently. Enough, guys, let us sit, Lavanya said, gaining their attentions. You want one? I'm ready. Saying this, Karan moved to her with open arms, but a single glare from her made him to take his seat silently, for which others laughed aloud. Everyone settled in their seats, leaving Shruti to take the only one next to Arav. She simply sat. She is in between Arav and Akash. Shruti, I couldn't contain it. When Bhai and you came, I felt like I'm looking like a lovely pair. Deepali giggled, getting nods from the rest. That's it. Shruti's face heated up and fixed her eyes on her entwined fingers in her lap. She couldn't raise her eyes to them. Anjali and Akash looked at each other, exchanging their mutual thoughts, while Aman patted Anjali's hands. That he is also with them. After all, Arav is his best buddy. Arav chuckled as if nothing happened, which made her to look at him, and instantly she regretted and moved her eyes towards earlier position. She cursed herself for getting a botany for him. Why can't she get him something else? Next time, she should better give a pen. Wait, is she going to gift him again? Her heart had its heavy beatings unknowingly. Chapter 17. Shruti took a sip of water to cool her. Shruti? Anjali called her with a worried expression. Shruti couldn't get what had happened to her all of a sudden as she was smiling a few minutes ago. She kept the glass carefully and turned to her fully. Very sorry, Shruti. Anjali is serious about what she is conveying. The only thing is, Shruti couldn't get it clearly. For what? Shruti said, looking at everyone confusingly. For Arav boy's behavior. She looked at Arav, who just rolled his eyes as everything was settled already. That's okay. I totally understand. Shruti smiled genuinely, making Arav to stare her intensely. No, you don't know. I was very angry with Bai, and because of the cheetal, he exploded on you. Finally, he convinced me talking about the street, which is his plan. Anjali's smile was back, while Shruti looked at Arav, who didn't give any reaction at all, just sitting there in a relaxed state. She couldn't believe it. That's the truth. His plan? The words started to ring in her ears. But why? She questioned herself and was not sure about the answer. She looked at him again. All the time, his eyes went to everyone but settled with her. Shruti, I'm really jealous that these two got you as their roomie. Anjali pouted innocently, for which Shruti simply giggled. Jealous, jealous. Lavanya teased and Deepali giggled. Okay, let me come to the point. Now Anjali is serious again. Shruti looked at her like, now what? Shruti, we want to invite you to our home to attend our puja this Sunday. And also, I want you to be with me along with Lavanya and Deepali for all the last moment shopping thingy, especially during the entire marriage ceremony. She finished with a lovely smile. Of course, Shruti reciprocated her smile and continued. I am in fact pretty excited about the rituals here. Thanks for inviting me. But she looked at Arav, who stared at her, not knowing what's her issue with her butt. Oh, don't worry, Shruti. Bai won't say anything unless his work didn't interrupt. Right, Bai? Anjali looked at Arav, who gave a curt nod to her. Shruti smiled contently. Very soon, the starters and soft drinks came, along with a cute cake with Shruti's name in the middle. Shruti's eyes widened, thinking, who is behind this? She saw Arav staring her with a smirk. Then they had the cake cutting and she fed to everyone, but when Arav's turn came, she hesitated a bit. After all, he is her boss, but how can she be so friendly with them? But Arav didn't seem to care about anything as he held her wrist gently and fed to himself. She stood stunned by his act. Akash gave an extra clap teasingly. During the dessert course, Shruti jerked a bit as she felt a pull in her back. When she turned, she found a cute little girl about 5 to 6 years old trying to touch her hair. Hey! Shruti smiled sweetly to her. Is it original? That girl asked innocently, and Shruti nodded for that with a little pout. She felt Shruti's silky hair in her small palms. Oh, so cute! Saying this, Shruti tried to pull her up to her lap, but in vain. Due to her stamina, not to forget her lean build too, she couldn't pull her up, though she felt herself strong. She tried hard, but no, she couldn't. Few seconds later, Harav lifted that girl just like that and made her to sit on his lap. Shruti, I think you should eat well. Akash teased her. She is, Harav chuckled. Then where it is going? Karan asked childishly. Obviously to her hair. Harav said, glancing her with a smirk. Shruti was speechless, as she never thought that Ara will be talking like this. Enough, guys, leave her. Aman came for her support. Yeah, it was Deepali now. I want long hair, I want long hair. That girl started to chant like a mantra, as she had only ear length. Shruti moved her chair near to Arav and took her hair in her hand and placed it on the girl's one side by leaning a bit to her. There you go. Shruti smiled at her. Yay! That girl was pleased. She touched it and felt satisfied. Anjali, Lavanya, Deepali, including Shruti, smiled at her doing. Shruti leaned again and kissed her chubby cheek. That girl giggled and looked at Arav. She tapped her another cheek with her finger and signaled Arav to kiss her. He raised his brow, but obeyed and kissed her. Now, kiss her. She pointed at Shruti, who almost choked. He chuckled while Aman said, That's interesting, while getting a nudge from Anjali, who was worried about Shruti's pale expression. Anjali looked at Akash. He nodded and told, No, dear, at present he can't. But the girl seemed to be stubborn. No, my dad used to kiss my mom after kissing me, she said cutely. Shruti started to sweat even with the cool breeze. Arav really felt for her inconvenience, but deep inside, he is thoroughly enjoying it, and he won't deny that for sure. At last, to her rescue, that girl's parents came and took her. They apologized for their daughter's trouble. Shruti smiled lightly. That was something. Lavanya laughed at Shruti while she glared her for her laughter. Yep, something. We could imagine that how Arav and his family will be in near future. Aman said with a smirk, causing Shruti to blush heavily. Arav, as usual, didn't miss to observe her. Chapter 18. Oh, how can I forget this? Deepali interrupted them. What? Anjali sounded curious. Her mom must have sent her groom's pictures. Deepali giggled. Really? Wow! Lavanya smiled naughtily at Shruti. Arav stiffened, hearing this, while Akash, Anjali, and Aman sensed this. Even Shruti noticed his stern look. She wondered what's wrong as she recalled his earlier encounter about her marriage proposals. Lavanya, we will help her to pick. Deepali giggled and Lavanya joined her nodding. Anjali could figure that unknown tension prevailing between Arav and Shruti. No wonder we didn't know how the time went. Akash changed the subject by looking at his watch. Yeah, Karan had it. This is really awesome. We should do it regularly. Aman extended it. Lavanya and Deepali had dropped the groom matter much to Shruti's relief. She didn't even know why she is feeling relaxed. Sure, why not? Anjali said, and the rest nodded, agreeing to it. Arav and Shruti simply exchanged their glances. Shruti, we will drop you, Karan said, looking at her. Before she could tell anything, I'm dropping her, Karan. Arav's voice cut them, in fact, like a command. Okay, then see you soon. Anjali came to her and hugged her. Aman missed her hair a bit, then they all bit their byes. Arav didn't say anything to her. She quietly sat in the seat and had her seat belt. The Drew was a silent one. Only here and there they glanced each other without others' knowledge. Arav was actually furious about the groom matter while Shruti struggled with herself about how to thank him for everything. Finally, her place came. It took a while to unlock the door. Shruti didn't mind it at all as she herself got engulfed with the thanking part. Arav tried to calm down and took a breath. Good night, Shruti. Thank you, sir. Both said at the same time and went silent again. Then slowly she raised her eyes to his level and said, Thanks for the treat, sir. I really had a nice time, with a lovely smile. He gave a nod and in return told, My pleasure. Me too. Good night, Shruti. With only Lavanya and Deepali's force, Shruti checked her mail for the pictures. Both sat on each side of her and started commenting about the grooms while Shruti's mind revolved around Arav, his anger, his closeness, his gazes, his eyes, everything. She excused herself for tiredness and lied down. She closed her eyes, but her mind is surely not tired of his thoughts. It had so much to analyze, so much had happened that day. She tossed and turned. While Arav looked at the ceiling without a blink, he's so restless. His mind is so full of her thoughts, too. What she must be doing now? Had she checked all the snaps? What has she decided? Shall I ring to her? He shook his head for disapproval. Damn it! He's so frustrated now that sleep was clearly miles away. Due to this only, he was going a steady pace without thinking about commitments. But now she has shown her face to him and he couldn't let go of her. How come he can sleep? How come he can rest till tomorrow? He took a deep breath. Then he really don't know when sleep had finally wrapped its arms on him. Chapter 19. Arav is right now sitting in his cabin waiting for her arrival. He didn't know how he got up early, very early, got ready, and here he is in his office. He took deep breaths to calm him, but in vain. He felt so restless and nervous, which he never ever experienced even for the crucial deals. Finally, there she came while talking in her phone. She settled in her seat and continued her talking since office time has not yet started. Arav observed her through the window and noticed the frown in her face. She lastly hung her call and blew the hair as if she had succeeded something. She casually looked up and found him in there. She gulped due to his presence as she didn't expect him this soon. She had somehow managed her mom saying that she didn't feel anything about the pictures. But right now, another issue is simply staring at her. What she's going to do? Will he ask about it? No way. But what if he asks? She shook her head as she was questioning her small, poor brain so much. Come in. He tried to have a composed tone rather than a desperate one, which is actually the true one. Good morning, sir. She greeted by keeping his coffee on the table. He just gave her a nod. He took the cup and asked her about his schedule while having his coffee. She informed him about everything. She felt good about his work mode and didn't guess what is waiting for her. He waited for her to say something, but that didn't happen. You may leave now, he said without looking at her. She turned and started. Arav looked at her and rolled his eyes as he had enough of it. His patience level is already very vast. Now this. No need to ask about it. When she touched the knob, Shruti, just a minute. His words altered her. Her beat rose unknowingly. When she turned back, he was already there in front of her. She couldn't even decipher. How come he came there that quick? Yes, sir. Her voice went with hair. Are you forgetting something? He asked her straight. She nodded like no. You're sure? He asked. Yes, sir. Why? Is there anything? She wasn't sure about what he is referring. Yep, regarding your marriage proposals. He looked at her eyes. Her eyes went wide, realizing that he did ask about it. But what she has to reply? She didn't even know. Hmm, marriage proposals? She dragged. He waited silently for a reply. She thought how he got furious and bombarded so many questions the day before. Why he is so desperate about my personal life? She thought herself. What about the proposal, sir? She didn't know where those words came and courage too. Maybe she thought it's her life. What about it? He gritted his teeth, losing his patience entirely. Yes, and why does it bother you, sir? She acted as if she is not scared of his gaze. After all, she needs his response for his behavior too. Why? He took a step close to her. Since you are under me. His tone sounded like bossing her. What do you mean? She's really upset with his tone. I don't like my employees when they quit job just like that. He took another step. Now she got frightened and hit the door behind her. Who said I'm quitting? She and her boldness. No one had to say, isn't it obvious? He's furious. Did I say that? She questioned him. You don't have to say. You will just obey your mom. He mocked her. Don't you think that I can choose my own life? She retorted. He simply shrugged, making her more furious. You don't know anything about me, so stop judging me. She's literally shaking in anger. He, in other hand, is enjoying her feisty mood. Really? He teased her. She glared him in return. Tell me, why am I thinking like you can't stand me? Are you scared of me? He smirked. Scared of you? No way. She chuckled, relaxing a bit. I don't think so. He took another step towards her, making her to regret her spilled words as his nose almost brushed her forehead. She struggled to look at him. Your glass will do nothing to me. In fact, you haven't met a man like me before. He smirked again. She breathed heavily. You are so helpless. When you can slap and stomp other males, why can't you stop me? Even now I am in your personal space. He smiled, which made her fume. Am I exceptional? He teased her. She looked at him straight, with a fire in her eyes. How dare you! She pushed him. He stumbled back a step, but nothing much. She raised her hand to slap, but he got her wrist and folded it back behind her, making her to close the gap between them. It had sent sparks between them. She gasped at his act and had uneven breaths. She tried to free her, but couldn't. I won't be doing that if I were you, he replied coolly. She seemed very furious and didn't look at him. He leaned a bit and muttered, I'm your boss. In her ear. Soon to be an ex boss, she gritted her teeth. Really? I don't think so. He smiled, thinking that it may be half true when he gets her. She looked at him, now still trying her best to free, but he held her firmly. If you thought of quitting, then no way, you can't escape from me that easily. His words somewhat sent shivers to her. Why can't? She asked. Simple. I'm Aarav Singh. He smirked. What's wrong with you? Her eyes cheated her while welling up. He looked at her eyes and let her go. I thought you were different, but she swallowed oddly. How different am I? Ask yourself, and maybe you will get the answer. His eyes never left. She blinked her tears as she didn't know the answer yet. She knows that deep down she felt something for him, but what? She couldn't figure it. She finally saw the space, so she turned and opened the door. He let her go, thinking, I know what you are to me, Shruti. I pushed you only to make you realize what am I to you. Hope you get the answer soon. He inhaled deeply. Chapter 20. Aarav looked her through the window. She didn't sit in her place. She couldn't actually. She instantly rushed towards her restroom. He closed his eyes for a minute, thinking that he had broken his promise of not hurting her. What if he resigns? That thought didn't sit for a second as a damn it spilled from his mouth. He's furious about himself and slides in the couch. She can't quit. I won't let her do that. I want her to be with me, badly. Muttering this, he hits his fist on the teapot angrily, making it to crack. Thereby, the cracked glass tastes his blood. He didn't bother to notice the blood drops. There, Shruti shuts the door and immediately closes her mouth with her palm, as her cries can't wait anymore. She looked herself in the mirror. Her tears made her to wonder what had actually happened that she felt so weak. She wiped her tears. She remembered how she has thrown the resignation letter instantly to her previous boss when he tried to misbehave with her. She looked at the mirror. Why she didn't want to do that to Arav? What's stopping her? Why the hell he is so restless about her marriage proposals? Her thoughts made her eyes go wide. Did he? Did he lie? No, no way. She shook her head. Then why his words are hurting her this badly? Why his touch is sending shivers to her? Why she couldn't stop him or his thoughts? Why she thought he's different? Has she fallen for him unknowingly? That made her to gasp. How different am I? Ask yourself, and maybe you will get the answer. His words echoed in her little brain. She gulped. She shook her head, muttering, No, no, this can't happen. I can't let mom down. She is very happy about my marriage responsibility. She knows how much her mom has talked about this to her friend circle. I can't. She looked at her reflection. Then why don't you simply resign? Her reflection told her. She looked down and felt her heart heavy. She took a deep breath. I can't, she said to her reflection. Her reflection smirked at her, saying, You do have feelings for him. Why don't you just accept it? She replied, It's complicated. Her mom's words came to her mind when she told them about this job offer. Shruti, I'm sure you are going to quit like your previous one. Her mom said this to her. No, mom, this is my dream, and I don't quit that easily. She answered confidently. What if you quit? Her mom questioned her. Then I will do as you wish. Marry soon and settle. She had told her without thinking what's waiting for her. She, with a determined look, wiped her tears from her cheeks. She splashed the water and looked herself again. Her eyes really failed her by showing her true pain. She had a long breath and walked out of the restroom. She took her seat and started with her work, though her mind wandered with her own thoughts. There Arif didn't miss to glance her in between his works. He sensed something in his right hand and looked at it. The blood had dried now. He looked at her and thought it's nothing when compared to her pain, which her face is revealing obviously. He thought to give her some time so that she can realize her feelings for him. She got busied in his work, though it was difficult to concentrate. Shruti, bring your notepad. With that, he hung the call. She knocked and came in. She looked at him with a blank expression, but she didn't know that he can read her very well. His stare lingered in her face for a minute, then gestured her to sit. She sat and he started to dictate the letter. She took it and he added that he will send the information about the person to whom she has to mail it. She nodded and stood. They both thought to pretend as if nothing has happened a while ago. But when she was about to turn, her eyes landed on his right hand, which is typing vigorously. What happened? She couldn't help it and pointed her finger on his right hand. Nothing, you may leave, he said sternly without even looking at her. She felt furious and her eyes looked around. It caught the cracked teapot, and she was sure he must have hurt himself in anger. But why? Her inner voice questioned. She put the thought aside and went near the cabinet and got the first aid kit. She came to him and kept the box on the table. I didn't ask for it, he said, still looking at his laptop. She sighed and turned to leave, but something stopped her again. She faced him and opened the kit. To his surprise, she took his hand and started cleaning it. He didn't even object. He simply stared at her eyes, which didn't look at him at all. Once done, she placed his hand back to his previous place and closed the kit. It's called humanity, so don't think about anything. I'm still angry with you. She collected her notepad without looking at him. Did I ask you anything? He simply crossed his arms over his chest and stared at her intently. She looked at him for a second and moved her eyes as she couldn't withstand his intense stare. She kept the kit and rushed out. He had a smirk, thinking, Shruti, you got feelings for me. I want this cat till end, but something is stopping you, and I will find that soon. Chapter 21. Shruti felt furious on herself. She has cleaned his cut, and that was okay. But what about his intense stare? She really thought hard about how to handle his gaze on her. She is feeling very weak with his look. Why couldn't I retort? Why the hell I was damn mute when he said those words? She muttered and kept her notepad on the desk. Unknowingly, she looked up, and to her fear, his eyes were on her only. She gave him a glare and turned her eyes on to her laptop, which earned a chuckle from him. In the evening, Akash came to the floor. Shruti, he gave a gentle pat on her shoulder and moved to Arav's cabin. She smiled at him, and her eyes automatically caught its rivals, which are keenly observing her with a smirk. She composed herself, chanting again that she is actually angry with him, and started to pack her stuffs. Bye. Akash went in, and this made Arav to move his attention towards Akash along with the plastered Smith. Akash, with a teasing look, watched Shruti through the window and rested to Arav. What is it, Bhai? He asked him. She is angry with me, Arav said with a smile, looking at Shruti. Bhai? Akash was sure that something has happened between them as she shot her eyes to Arav furiously, then she looked at her things. Fierce, I like it. Arav smirked again. I like this side of her too. Now he looked at Akash, who was grinning now as he sensed his brother's love-sick state. Is everything okay? He couldn't control it and asked his brother. I think so. Let's see how things turn tomorrow. Saying this, Arav looked at his laptop while Shruti left towards the lift. She tried her best, but she felt off with Arav's haunting thoughts. So she lay in the bed and shut her eyes. He didn't help her from his thoughts. She tossed and turned. Nothing. Sleep is clearly away from her. His eyes. It is sensing her fear, her weakness, when he is near her. She shook her head, opening her eyes. She has to stop him, but how? She is very determined when he is not around, and when he is near, she forgets everything. She pouted, thinking her helpless condition. Will she can be normal in front of him? She sighed with a doubt. What to do? Her head is aching so much with this. Damn it. She felt seriously angry with him for stealing her peace along with the sleep. With much difficulty, she drifted to sleep. Even in her dreams, he bothered her with the marriage proposals. No, not again. Muttering this, she kept a pillow over her head and tried to get back to sleep. She thanked God as Lavani and Deepali are in their deep sleep. There, Arav is looking at the ceiling with a smile. Shruti, you can't hide your feelings for so long. I can sense your weakness. I will get close to you and I will make it difficult for you so that you can open up with me. With that, he closed his eyes to have a nice dream with her. The next couple of days, Shruti managed to have a professional side while Arav enjoyed it thoroughly. He didn't want to bother her, so he simply cherished her each and every minute expressions. It was Friday and Shruti is eagerly winding her works for the shopping thing as Lavanya informed the details clearly. She looked up and saw Arav in phone. She lowered her stare and took her bag. Her intercom rang, and she knew who is it. Come to my cabin. With that, he hung it. She took a deep breath and knocked his door. She worried about what he's going to say now as she tried her best to escape from him for the past 2 days. She simply stood in front of him without even looking at him. He stared her from head to toe and spilled, I'll be taking you to the mall. She shot up instantly. I don't want to go with you. I can go myself. With that, she thought to turn. Don't you dare talk to me like that, Shruti. With that, he came to her. Well, I'm dead. He raised his brows in surprise for a reply. Don't think I won't quit. I will do it any time. She answered him seriously. Really? He smirked and took a step close to her. You don't know about me. She looked at his eyes, holding a stern look. You think I didn't know about you? He asked her casually. She nodded and looked away. Well, then let's get to know each other. He said just like that, making her heart to pound heavily. What do you mean? She retorted. Let's start with this small thing. He folded his hands over his chest with a cute smile. She clearly struggled. I don't want it. She tried to turn, but he held her wrist and pulled her, making her to crash in his chest. She steadied herself and glared at him for his act. Shall we start? He asked her like nothing happened. Don't you hear me? I don't want to go with you. She's really furious now. Shruti, don't make me to carry you over my shoulder, though I would love it. He said naughtily. She took a step back and was clearly shaken. You can't do that. She looked somewhere. Try me. He's watching her closely. She stood silently. He rolled his eyes and bent a bit, opening his arms around her. He was about to hold her when she almost shouted, No, please, I will come. She closed her eyes to calm herself and her pounding beats. Arav grinned, staring at her angelic face. The next few minutes, they were in his car. He is having a smirk while she is fuming deeply and is looking outside the window. Chapter 22. How dare of him! Shruti cursed him under her breath. Shruti, just remember, don't go weak in front of him. You are actually angry with him. How can he behave like that with you? Who gave those rights to him? She thought furiously, and it reflected in her face. While Arav observed her anger and chuckled, thinking, Whatever you think, Shruti, nothing is going to work out when I'm around you. When they reached their spot, the rest of the gang was there. Anjali crushed her in a tight hug, and Aman shuffled her hair affectionately. Okay, let's start, Akash said enthusiastically while Arav rolled his eyes. You guys are going to get your dresses for our marriage. Anjali clapped her hands excitedly. Shruti simply looked at her. Shruti, boy's friend boutique is here, and she's having excellent collections. In fact, my wedding lehenga is also designed by her. Come. Anjali pulled her along with Lavanya and Deepali, who seemed pretty excited too. The men followed them with a big sigh, thinking how girls are while they are shopping. Within 10 minutes, the girls are checking the beautifully hanged lehengas, while the men simply sat on the couch after the owner greeted Arab. This is horrible, Karan exclaimed helplessly, watching them selecting, clueless. Yes, it is, but you will get used to it. Haman smiled at him and Akash too joined him. Arav had his eyes set only on Shruti, who simply wandered there as if she is not going to get anything, but her fingers just kept admiring the lehengas. Shruti, Anjali came to her. Have you picked anything? She asked, looking at the lehengas. She nodded like no. What? Why? Anjali is clearly surprised. Anjali, I had no idea about this. I have seen them, but never tried it before. It's so revealing sometimes, yet beautiful. I'm not comfortable with this. She felt a bit shy, expressing her fear. Anjali chuckled and looked at her from head to toe. What? Shruti couldn't get it. You should definitely try one before you come to any conclusion. Anjali insisted. Shruti nodded like no. Trust me, Shruti, you have no idea of how pretty you will be in those. I admit you are already very beautiful. She giggled while Shruti blushed for her comment. Please give it a try for me, she asked with a pout, which Shruti felt very cute. Okay, just a try. Pick one and don't go away. I'm not so comfy with this. She pleaded, and Anjali nodded her head with a wiggle. She gave one and Shruti checked it. Anjali, this dupatta is transparent, she complained. Oh, Shruti, just go and try it. With that, Anjali literally pushed her to the trial room, which is on the end of the room. Don't go away, Shruti said again and locked herself. Anjali! Lavanya called her out from the other side of the room with the lehengas in hand. Looking at it, Anjali went to her to check the picked ones. In fact, they called their men to assist them. Ara waited for Shruti with his eyes fixed only on the trial room. He has guessed whatever happened between Shruti and Anjali and chuckled thinking how she is scared of that lehenga. He clearly got that Shruti gets uneasy to wear anything which exposes her much. He felt happy about it but sad at the same time that she will be pretty in everything. He brushed the thought and couldn't hide his smirk that she is saving everything for him. Shruti tried that lehenga and looked herself in the mirror. It's gorgeous, with heavy embroidery works on it. She looked much pretty, like Anjali said. But when her eyes roamed from head to toe, it stuck in her bare waist. Oh God, how can I go out? Saying this, she tried to cover it with the dupatta. To her bad luck, how much she tried due to its transparency, her bare waist was clearly visible. She sighed helplessly. She is like that only. Even when she wears a sari, she tries not to expose her waist much. She thought to call Anjali and show her in the room itself. She opened the door slightly and called, Anjali. Since Anjali is on the other side, she couldn't hear her, and obviously, to her dismay, it was Aarav who went and stood in front of her. She just froze on seeing him. His eyes stilled on her. Her breath became very heavy, and she held the dupatta as if it's going to shield her from his intense gaze. Of all the others, he is the first person that she didn't want to see her in that dress. She didn't know why, but she felt very nervous thinking about it. But here he is, gazing her as if she is prey. She couldn't meet his eyes. Shruti, his husky tone made her to look him. His eyes held some unreadable expression which she felt difficult to decipher. He took a step to her with his eyes never leaving her for a second. She took a step back unknowingly. They did that twice, and now he is in the trial room with her. Her heart pounded when she realized that. He pulled her a bit to him by holding her shoulders gently. Then without moving his eyes from hers, he put his hand on her back and collected her hair in one side, making her to feel the chillness touching on her bare skin. She gasped a bit when he tied her loosened dory properly in the mirror. He took her beauty in the mirror. He then leaned a bit to her, trapping her between his hands. She's really shaking now. She looked down, making him to stop. Shruti, his voice again made her to have his eye contact. She struggled with this feeling. What's wrong with you? She asked him, looking at his eyes. I don't know. You tell me. What's wrong with me? He questioned her back. I don't know. She looked somewhere. Don't lie, he said with a stern voice. Both stared at each other for God knows how long. Chapter 23. Shruti! Hearing her name, Aarav freed her from his trap. She put her hair back and composed herself. Wow! All of them said together. Shruti, you're so pretty. Karan couldn't control himself and continued. Let me take a pic. But Arav instantly stopped him, saying that she's not comfortable in that. Anjali, Aman, and Akash giggled, thinking how much he is possessive or protective about her. Shruti, you should really get one. It's so beautiful on you, Lavanya said with a dimple smile. Yes, Shruti. Now change and come. Deepali added, and everyone gave her space. Arav looked back at her for a second and marched out. Shruti jerked from her trance state. When Shruti came out, Arav gave one lehenga set to her. She took it confusingly. You will like this. Saying this, he moved away from her. Shruti, it's stunning. Bhai selected it. Anjali told her, and her eyes widened for that. She checked it, and she felt perfect. Her eyes instantly landed on us. Akash cleared his throat, making her to jump a bit. Now, let's move for our section. With that, everyone made their way out. Anjali, Bill, you guys go. I will pay and come, she said. Are you kidding me, Shruti? Bhai already paid its payment. With that, Anjali went out. Shruti shook her head and rushed out to reach Arav. She somehow reached his speedy walk and was clearly panting. Arav looked at her and slowed down a bit, which made her to catch her breath. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out with her panting. Relax. His voice made her to look at him. His eyes showed concern. Now okay? Tell me, what is it? He stopped his walk and crossed his arms. She just blinked and finally told, I want to pay for this lehenga. He smirked, which she didn't expect it. I'm serious. She looked down, not able to meet his intense stare. Really? He smiled. Yes. She glared at him furiously, thinking, how can he smile or smirk like that when she's struggling? I picked it for you. He looked at her eyes. Doesn't matter. I want to pay. She's stubborn. Fine. He surrendered, surprising her. You can pay it back, he said calmly. Okay. She's pretty serious. He chuckled and said, but not in monetary base. She looked at him confusingly. Anything that I will ask you to do in return. He smirked. Anything? She froze and continued. That's not fair. She felt helpless while he tapped her nose with a smile and started his throat to catch the rest. How dare! She gritted her teeth and somehow calmed herself. She's sitting with the other girls while the men picked their sherwanis. She thought about all what had happened between them. What's wrong with them? She questioned herself and sighed, thinking, why can't he be the rude Arab? Why the hell he has to behave like this? Shruti, you okay? Anjali tapped her gently. Yeah. She brushed his thoughts aside and smiled curtly. What is it? Tell me. She knew that her dear bro must have done something. I was actually thinking about the lehenga. She changed it. Really? What is it? Anjali seemed curious. That I was thinking to wear it like our off sari, a traditional outfit of South Indians. She uttered. Off sari? Anjali couldn't get it. Wait, I will show you. Shruti said and took her phone. She tapped and showed a picture to her. Wow! Anjali exclaimed. What? Both Lavanya and Deepali joined them and admired the snap. Shruti, you must wear it like this. This is so pretty. Anjali told her admiringly. She smiled in return and nodded like yes. That day went like that, but not for Arav and Shruti, who were engrossed in each other's thoughts. Next day, Shruti is getting ready to visit a temple. Both Lavanya and Deepali told her that they will join her along with the gang. Shruti felt happy, but when Arav's image came in front of her eyes, she gulped nervously. Shruti, stay strong. She muttered herself, and with that they all reached the temple. There, Arav stood staring at her. She took a long breath and went to pray by ignoring his presence. Akash chuckled, thinking that she is the perfect match for his dear Bai. Once they had done, Shruti asked the Pandit for some sindoor. He gave her some, and when she was about to keep it on her forehead, Lavanya asked her what she is doing. Shruti smiled and told her that it's their tradition to keep it after praying. Will everyone keep it? Anjali questioned her curiously. Yes, Shruti giggled and said, "You know, sometimes couples used to keep the sindoor in each other's forehead, especially when a guy keeps it on girl's forehead, then it's considered as they are eternally bonded." Everyone smiled at her. But all of a sudden, she has been pulled by Arav. He touches the sindoor in his forefinger, which is in her palm, and keeps it above her bindi, stunning everyone and earning gasps. Shruti just froze by his sudden act. Without any worries, he holds her free hand and presses the sindoor in her finger and does the same in his forehead. He felt content while she looked totally shocked. Hmm, what did I miss? Karan asked, looking at everyone. Chapter 24. It really took a while for Shruti to take in what has just happened. She breathed hardly and looked at the person behind her current state. He seemed so cool. Her face turned red in anger, and fumes started to erupt in her ears. "How dare you!" She gritted her teeth and held his shirt and shook him roughly. He didn't expect that, so he was really amused by her anger look. He's totally enjoying it. Others stared at them. "Not only you, Karan. It seems we also missed a lot," Lavanya said, looking at Deepali, who was nodding her head with her eyes fixed on Arav and Shruti. "Hey, why am I feeling like you guys know something that we don't?" Karan questioned her, looking at Akash, Aman, and Anjali. Akash smiled at them, while Aman said, "If you guys noticed what's going on around you, then you guys must have sensed it." He too smiled. Arav just smirked for a state, which made her even more furious. The Pandit came out and saw them. "Betty, don't do that. He's your fiance. See how much love is I showering for you?" With that, he blessed them with some flowers and went in. "What the?" Shruti stomped her foot. Harav chuckled. She glared him and was about to leave when Akash stopped her for a snack. Anjali pulled her hand and locked it with hers. They stood, and without any choice, Shruti forced a smile with much difficulty. Suddenly she jerked as Arav's hand held her waist. They both looked at each other. Arav with smirk, while she's fuming. In an instant, she elbowed him in his gut, making him to wince a bit. He laughed loudly. He looked at Akash and they exchanged a knowing, mischievous look. Yep, Akash has caught all of it. Shruti didn't wait for anyone. "Anjali, I'm leaving." She said sternly and looked at Lavanya and Deepali. When they stood silent, she uttered, "Fine," and took long strides. When she was about to get a rickshaw, Arav pulled her elbow. She halted in front of him. "I will drop you," he said, looking at her eyes. "No need," she said stubbornly. "I don't like a no as an answer." He smirked, getting a glare from her. She tried to get rid of his hold, but in vain. "Shruti, stop it," he said calmly. "No, I won't," she replied without meeting his eyes, still struggling. "Or you have to face the consequences." He almost threatened her with a smile. She looked at his eyes angrily. What kind of man he is? I'm trying to push him away, but he is not leaving me. She thought herself and signed. He dragged her to his vehicle. "I'm not coming," she protested. He lost his patience and trapped her in his car door. "Are you sure?" He looked at her intensely. "Yes." She struggled as she couldn't tolerate his stare. "Okay." With that, he leaned to her. "What the hell are you doing?" She pushed him. "I know what I'm doing. It's you who's not getting anything." He leaned further. "It's a public place. I will scream." She threatened him. "Go ahead." As if I'm going to mind it. He's really chill. "What do you want?" she asked, looking around when some eyes stared them curiously. "Get in," he ordered her. She rolled her eyes and nodded. He moved back and she got in. The drive was a silent one. He stopped right in front of her hostel. When she tried to open the door, he locked it. She looked at him and felt defeated. "Why are you doing this?" Her eyes filled with tears. You really want to know even after the temple incident? He looked at her. It's not possible. She lowered her eyes to her fingers in her lap. Leave that to me, he replied. No, it won't happen. She looked at him pleadingly. Let's see, he smirked. She again fumed with a smirk. She was about to tell something when he unlocked the door and signaled her to go. Sending him a deadly glare, she finally came out and rushed inside the hostel. She somehow didn't want to wipe that sindoor, which she kept in some temple. Shruti, I know what's stopping you. He smiled at her disappearing figure. Really? Their Karan exclaimed when Lavanya told them how Shruti used to tell everything to her mom, but she didn't utter a word about Arav's behavior starting from that Sheetal fiasco. I'm sure she's got feelings for Bai. Akash gained everyone's attention. All nodded and smiled happily. Chapter 25. If she's having feelings for Bai, then we must confirm it. Lavanya said and looked at Deepali knowingly. Deepali nodded understandingly that they had to confront Shruti about her feelings. Okay then, let's start. We will see how tomorrow goes with them. Aman said and Anjali continued. I hope everything goes well. I really like Shruti and would be more than happy if she becomes my sister in law. Longingly. That she will, Akash assured them with a smile. With that, they all started to their places. Arav's smile is plastered in his face while driving back to his mansion. He is really content of what he did, especially how he let her know what she is to him in her own traditional way. He also has guessed what's stopping her from expressing her feelings to him. He's sure that it must be her mom, whom she respects a lot. Maybe she's worried about how everything will actually work out between them. He is determined to get to know her true feelings for him in the coming days. She's his love. He won't let her go at any cost. And he will make sure that she loves him like he does. With this thought, he continued his drive. Shruti looked at herself in the mirror. She was a complete mess. Her tear filled eyes told her how she felt for him. Her fingers very gently touched the sindoor which he had kept. More tears rolled over her cheeks. Her state is more complicated. She doesn't know whether to be happy that he had in fact expressed his feelings for her through her traditional or to be sad that it won't be possible for their union. Why? She cried out loudly as there is no one in the room. She poured her feelings through her tears. Slowly her tears subsided and she felt very exhausted. She lay in the bed and looked at the ceiling emptily. That's how Lavanya and Deepali found her. Shruti jerked a bit when they opened the door suddenly, but gradually relaxed after seeing them. Both Lavanya and Deepali looked at her state and sent a glance between them. Shruti realized something and wiped her face, which had her almost dried out tears. Want to talk about it? Saying this, Lavanya sat on her bed opposite to Shruti. What's there to talk? Shruti replied sternly, though she struggled to maintain her posture. Shruti, we had no idea that Bai felt about you in this way, but we are so happy that he actually fell for you. You are an amazing person. Saying this, Deepali sat next to Lavanya. Don't you guys think that it won't be possible? Shruti looked at them. Shruti, but there must be a way. Deepali said hopefully. You guys know about my mom. How can I tell this to her? Shruti swallowed her tears and looked away. I agree with you, Shruti. But do you like Bai? We want to know about your feelings. Lavanya looked at Shruti expectantly. My liking doesn't matter in this. Shruti uttered this with difficulty as her tears betrayed her and rolled again. She quickly wiped them and excused herself to the restroom. She covered her mouth and cried again. It was like We will be excited when someone we are interested actually notices us. Then, when they express us, that is when we be scared, whether it can work out or not. Shruti's condition is somewhat similar to that. Lavanya and Deepali smiled at each other as they got what they wanted, and they just prayed that everything should work out well in the end. Chapter 26. Shruti didn't have a video chat with her mom that day. She knows very well that her mom will instantly find out that something is bothering her and she has cried. She has dialed her and talked with her. She tried her best to make herself sound happy, but even then, she is scared that her mom will somehow know that she isn't well. So she made a short call and excused herself for being so tired. All these things didn't go unnoticed by Lavanya and Deepali. They felt very bad for her state, at the same time very happy that she doesn't know what their Arab boy is actually capable of. There Arav is sitting on his bed and scrawling the picture sent by Akash. He couldn't help the smile that bloomed on his lips. He sighed longingly for Shruti's nearness. Bye. Akash came in and smiled at him. He very well knows about his bye state. He sat near him and without waiting, he told what Deepali and Lavanya said about Shruti. About how she hid his behavior after Sheetal from her mother and how she hesitated to talk about her feelings, though her tears have said it, and how she is scared to reveal this to her mom. Arav listened intently and smiled, thinking that his guess was right. Bye. Akash looked at him confusingly. I knew it, Akash. She didn't want to disappoint her mother. I will take care of this. He assured Akash, who nodded knowingly. When Akash left, Arav decided to confront her about her true feelings towards him. He wanted to see it by himself. Next day, Shruti seemed like she is fighting inside whether to go or not. At last, her heart won, and she convinced herself that she is going for Anjali and Aman. She prayed hard to avoid Arav, even though she knows it's impossible. When Lavanya and Deepali purposely insisted her to wear a red suit, she hesitated. That it's his favorite color too. But when Lavanya and Deepali both adorned the same color suits, she had no choice. They then reached Singh mansion. Shruti is literally shaking. She tried her best to remain calm, but as they neared, she became nervous, especially thinking about a particular person. They were warmly greeted by the Singhs. Akash was the first person to come and side her, hug her protectively. Then came Karan. That particular person stood rooted to his spot, taking her appearance as she looked very lovely in a simple red suit with silver border. Akash introduced her to Nani, Sheetal, and Anuj. Anjali came and crushed her with her hug as before. This time too, Aman saved her. Shruti then took Nani's blessings as it's a way to greet the elders. Nani cupped her cheeks and kissed her forehead with a satisfied smile. Shruti felt very happy, though a bit suspicious. She then took Anuj's blessing. He touched her head and blessed her warmly. When she took Sheila's, she was instantly crushed with a hug. Sheila seemed more excited. Actually, she was tired of searching a suitable bride for Arab. So when Akash told them about Shruti, they were more than happy to meet her. Both Lavanya and Deepali were chatting with Sheila as if she was their friend. Shruti smiled and noticed a knowing stare between Akash and Nani. Now she got that the whole family knows about them. Just then her eyes met Arab's, who was gazing at her the whole time. She felt very difficult with his intense stare, as she now clearly knows the meaning of it. Somehow she composed herself and tried to involve with others' chat. She came to know that everything was ready for the puja, but it will take some time as they are waiting for the pandit. Her eyes wandered on the walls and rested on the photo of a couple which were adorned with garlands. She couldn't help the tight feel in her heart. She stood and went near it. She didn't know for how long she looked at them. Her voice cleared behind her and she jerked. It was Akash. He balanced her gently and held her shoulder in a side up. Avantika auntie and Harish uncle, he said in a low voice. She nodded knowingly and her eyes went to that particular person. Arav looked as if he was stiffened with the happenings. To change the topic, she asked about Aman's parents. But it shocked her even more when Akash said that he was an orphan, but not anymore. Her eyes welled up and looked at Aman, who was happily teasing Anjali with others. Shruti smiled herself. Akash then took her to sit with the rest. When they all came to know that Shruti loves to cook and especially jalebi is her special, Anjali pulled her and stressed her to teach that as Aman loves jalebi. Shruti smiled and agreed to it. So now they are in the kitchen with their aprons. Elders settled in the hall along with Aarav, Akash and Aman to discuss about the marriage rituals. Anjali, Shruti, Lavanya and Deepali along with Karan are in the kitchen. When they noticed how Shruti prepared a sugar-free batter separately, made them to exchange their knowing glances. Here and there, Karan will get a slap on his hand from Lavanya whenever he tries to eat one. Shruti laughed at them. When it was done, they all came out and found Adi and Sheetal there. Adi smiled at them and couldn't hide his surprise to see Shruti there. Sheetal had a look like Shruti's out of place. They greeted while Shruti simply stood. When she saw Arav, he smiled at her and let her know that his eyes are only meant for her. Sheetal fumed in anger when she saw what's happening between them. Adi raised his eyebrows and smirked, as if he got something against Arav. Hey beauty, how are you doing? Saying this, he came to Shruti. But Akash came to her side instantly. Shruti glared at Adi. He smirked, looking at the overprotective Akash and the chilled Arav. What she is doing here? Sheetal couldn't control more. None of your business. Karan spitted, and Lavanya gazed at him proudly. By that time, Arav got a call and he answered it while going to his room, not before sending a smile towards Shruti. She blinked her eyes and tried to calm her pounding heart. Adi signaled them to Akash. When Akash nodded, it made Adi to smile contentedly. Everyone now tasted the jalebis except the fuming Sheetal. Anjali made Ariprakash to take Arav's sugar-free jalebis to his room. When they all started chatting, Sheetal didn't miss a chance and slipped to Arav's room. Adi noticed his sister's absence and asked Akash. They looked each other knowingly. Shruti felt upset about Sheetal going to Arav. Sorry, buddy. She stuck with me like a leech when she came to know that I'm heading here. Adi said pleadingly. Get lost! Arav's hell made everyone to freeze in their places. They knew what would have happened. Shruti was scared like hell. Sheetal rushed down to the door as if nothing had happened, but not before throwing a glad towards Shruti. Shruti gulped, thinking what will happen next. Not even a minute passed. Shruti, get me a coffee. His words came sternly and he went to his room. No need, Shruti. Nani was worried about her as she knows Arav's temper. But Shruti somehow convinced her and went towards his room with his coffee, which is a very bad idea for her. She is again shaking. She knocked and came in. Sir, your coffee? Words struggled to come out for her. Instantly he barged towards her. She moved back in fear. He took the cup from her and placed it in the stand nearby. Then he moved to her. What the hell are you doing, Shruti? He gritted his teeth and totally trapped her in the wall. She felt a sense of deja vu. Sir? She tried. Don't you feel jealous or upset? He looked at her intently. She looked down as she couldn't meet his eyes. Look at me, Shruti. He touched her chin and raised it to his eyes. She blinked her eyes. Don't you feel anything towards me? He asked her gently. Sir? She tried again. Arav! He raised his voice. She blinked her tears. Let me go, sir. She tried to move, but he almost pressed himself on her, which made her to gasp. Call me Arav. He stressed again. No, I can't. She looked away. Shruti, don't test my patience. He warned her. You are my boss. She somehow got courage and looked at him. Even after the temple incident? He mocked her. It's not going to happen. She looked somewhere else. Leave that to me. He watched her face. No, it's impossible. Her tears threatened her. Shruti, do you like me? He asked her expectantly. My liking doesn't matter. She repeated the same words. It matters to me, damn it! He hit the wall with his fist, making her to jump in fear. Answer me, Shruti. He moved even close. Let me go. She struggled with tears flowing over her cheeks. He didn't move, even when she punched his chest. He pulled her to his chest and let her cry on his shoulder. He held her close and kissed her head. As if she realized something, she pushed him and ran out. He touched the tear stains and smiled as he got his answer. Chapter 27. Shruti rushed out of Arav's room with a pounding heart. She altered a bit, and whatever happened between them came in a flash. She couldn't contain her tears again, so she stood supporting a wall and wiped her tears while taking a very long breath. She was sure that her tears must have answered her unsaid words. She fumed on her heart, which is totally dysfunctional in obeying her orders. When she looked up while trying to compose, there Anjali stood rooted to her spot, observing her. She has come to get them for the puja, but mainly she is concerned about Shruti. Both of them looked at each other. Lastly, it was Anjali who broke the silent spell. Want to refresh? Her simple words were enough for Shruti to nod at her. She signaled Shruti towards a door, which is her room. Shruti silently followed her and went to do her job. Anjali sat on the bed and waited for her. Shruti couldn't help herself hearing his words again and again. She blinked herself to control her tears, which seemed too much worse than any disease. When she came out, it was clearly written in her face, her struggle to hide her pain. Anjali stood and pulled her for a warm hug. No words were uttered, just silence, as it spoke for them. Then they both came down. Aarav stood with a smile in his room, just like an idiot. He still could feel her warmth in his arms. It felt heaven, but the only thing was she cried. Though he felt happy as it confirmed her feelings towards him. He gave a sigh and with a determined decision came down with a tray of sugar-free jalebis. His eyes settled on her who was sitting for the puja. He had a smirk as if nothing had happened in his room. Adi and Akash watched his expression carefully and felt relieved that whatever has happened between them must have ended in a happy way. Not only them, everyone noticed them while Shruti just sat there physically. Her mind is so full to avoid that particular person who must be watching her intently. Her heart is like to explode in excitement, but sadly she didn't want to give it hope when this is not going to work out. She exhaled a deep breath. She just waited for the puja to end. When it finally ended, she took the blessings of the elders once again, and when she is about to start, Arav came forward and dragged her, saying he is dropping her. She didn't have any time to resist as she was sitting in the car now. There everyone knew what's happening between them, so they all smiled looking at Arav, who was so whipped now. They drew silently, which Shruti has thanked internally. She is in no state to answer any of the questions of Arav. He just took glances of her here and there. He knew what she is undergoing. He also knew that he has expressed from his side, but her side, It was not that easy for her. When her place came, he stopped and looked at her. Good night, Shruti, he said with a smile. But her smile didn't reach her eyes when she said, Good night, sir. Arav, he stressed again. She nodded like no and got out. Without turning back, she went in as her eyes all welled up again. Stupid tears, she cursed herself. Arav had a smile when he left to her place. She had some time to compose herself before Deepali and Lavanya arrived. They didn't discuss anything about Arav and tried to divert her with other conversations. Shruti knew what they were doing and was glad. There, Arav and Akash discussed something that night. The next 2 days was purely hell for Shruti, as Arav didn't come to office. Akash took his place and looked after the important stuffs. He informed her that Arav has gone out to finish up the final works of Anjali's marriage. Shruti felt angry and couldn't figure why, whether it's because of Arav not informing her or her heart is totally aching in his absence. In addition to that, her mom called her and told her about the next groom's list. She didn't know what to reply her mom. All she wanted was to yell at her that she's in love but couldn't. Akash didn't miss to notice her, and when she literally broke down, he came to her and comforted her. She can say that he is totally protective about her. With him, she felt just like the one with her own little bro. Chapter 28. It was the third day when Shruti was checking something in her screen. The lift dinged. She thought it must be Akash and didn't even turn. She has tried to set her heart in a robotic mode. It was extremely difficult for her. Get me my coffee, Shruti. His voice made her to jump from her seat. He smirked, looking at his effect on her. She looked so sweet for him, with her hands on her chest and wide-eyed with heavy breaths. Get it soon. With that, he winked at her and went to his room. She blinked, thinking whether she has seen it for real or not. She took a heavy breath and calmed her pounding heart, which must be excited to see its longing person. Her eyes turned to his room, and there he was staring her with utmost interest. She instantly ran to make his coffee. He laughed and waited for her. She took her time and knocked with his coffee. Come in. His words made her to stiffen up, and determined with her thought of avoiding his eyes as much as possible, she entered. He sipped it, and while doing so, he questioned her about the updates, and she answered him without meeting his eyes. He noticed it too. When he kept his cup, he looked at her straight. She was looking at her fidgeting fingers. Shruti? His stern voice made her to look at him, forgetting all her rules and modes. That's it. They both stared at each other. Slowly he stood and walked towards her without breaking their eye contact while she moved back like it was already rehearsed. When she hit the closed door, she came out of the trance. But too late. He trapped her with one hand on the door and another in his pocket. He leaned to her. She felt her heart will explode any minute. Are you ready? His words left her blank. She blinked her eyes. He chuckled and added, For marriage. Her eyes widened without knowing what to think. He smiled and said, Anjali's marriage. In an instant, she nodded her head like yes so fast that she felt nearly dizzy. He laughed at her adorable reaction and took his hand from the door. Then go and wind up your things. See you soon. He winked at her again, folding his hands over his chest. Yes. Somehow she managed to utter that and took his cup and ran out to her desk. She had to hold her chest to bring it back to normal mode. When she looked up, he was clearly enjoying her state. She cursed herself for letting him have so much control over her. But poor thing, she doesn't get that it's not only him, she too is controlling him. That day, they wrapped their works for Anjali's marriage events. Shruti got ready with Deepali and Lavanya and reached the mansion next day. It was so well decorated for the Sangeet. She was excited to watch the rituals in one side, but also nervous about Arav. When his eyes met her, he stood still gulping of beauty. She blushed unknowingly and tried to chat with others. Then they all started to dance, but Shruti stood in the corner as she felt so uncomfortable. Akash tried to pull her, but seeing her hesitation, they didn't force her. Meanwhile, she watched Arav, who was dancing so well here and there, stealing her glances. She couldn't help thinking how handsome he is, both in suits and traditional wears. She gulped and tried to stop her thoughts. When the ceremony completed that day, Arav pulled her again to drop her to a place. Akash and Karan took care of Deepali and Lavanya. Arav didn't utter anything to her except looking her whenever possible. She was well aware of his stares and kept quiet. She just nodded her forehead for his good night and thanked him for the ride. Next day, it was Mehendi ceremony. When Shruti heard about how they will put their partner's initial on their palms, her heart ached to get an A on her palm but couldn't. She was struggling inside and refused to look at Arav. She blinked her tears and composed herself. Arav kept watching her with a stern look. When she thought that no one is noticing her inner trauma, she had no idea about how others sensed her pain. Here and there, Akash will give her a side eye affectionately. Karan, Deepali, and Lavanya tried their best to keep her occupied along with Anjali's events. She tried to put up her smile for them. Avantu went, and the final big day came. When the ladies came down with Anjali, Arav felt difficult to avert his eyes from Shruti. She looked gorgeous in her lehenga, which Arav had picked for her. She had worn it in an off-sari style, which she had shown to Anjali and the rest on that shopping day. When her eyes met his, she felt a shiver. Hey, buddy. Adi pushed him a bit, which broke their trance. They were in the middle of their guests and relatives. So Arav gave a thankful nod to Adi and smiled at Shruti. She gave an embarrassed one due to where they are and looked at others. Sheetal stood near to her dad, Mishra, who had a kind look at Shruti. Adi had already talked about them and he didn't want his daughter to cause any more drama. When the ceremony ended, Adi came to Shruti. Hey, beauty, you look gorgeous. Saying this, he stood near to her. She glared at him. Hey, relax, Shruti. Stop glaring at me. I'm not that bad, okay? He surrendered, smiling at her. She too gave a small smile and relaxed a bit. If in case you change your mind, just think about me, okay? He said to her. She blinked, and before she could reply, she won't, and she is mine, came Arav's voice. She looked both of them and said, I'm no one's, to Arav and left them. Tigress, Adi muttered. Yep, Arav too smiled, looking at her disappearing figure. Hey, does she have any cousin? Adi asked him. Why? Even if she does, I won't recommend you. Arav teased him. Are you my buddy? Adi dramatically held his chest like he got hurt. Who said? Arav replied, and both of them laughed together. Shruti saw their smile while hiding behind a pillar. Her heart ached, looking at his cute smile, and the thought of the reality hit her hard. She had tried her best to enjoy this marriage, but it was paining inside. When she was about to start, Arav came to drop her. It was empty and a bit dark where his car was parked. When she was about to open the door, he pulled her and turned her towards him. She was taken aback with his sudden approach. Sir? Her voice betrayed her fear. Arav, he said again. She nodded no. You are mine, Shruti. He trapped her on the door. No. She looked down. You belong to me. No one can change it. And you look stunning. With that, their eyes interlocked with each other. Shruti, he gulped, and his right hand slowly grazed her waist, which made her to gasp. She held her breath as his face leaned over her. In fear of what's coming, she closed her eyes. She wanted it. At the same time, she didn't want it. She's so angry with her feelings. Why does she have to come for this job? But her heart was jumping in happiness and sad at the same time for finding its right partner who can't be with her. Arav looked at her form and smiled at her. He pressed his lips on her forehead. She lived that moment and pushed him with tears. I had to go, she said, looking somewhere. Okay. He knew what's going on with her. So he opened the door for her and dropped her silently. Chapter 29. How come she managed to control her emotions till she reached her room? Only God knows. Once she was in her room, she sat on the bed and her tears rolled freely. When she looked up, she viewed herself in the mirror. She really was looking good in that lehenga. Her lips lifted into a smile, even with the tears, thinking of his warm lips on her forehead. She can feel how much he loves her in that film kiss. She sighed when she thought about her family. It's not easy for them to accept her choice. She looked up and prayed for a miracle. There, Arav smiled thinking about her. He actually wanted to kiss her deeply to show how much he is happy for finding her as his soulmate. Her hesitation and fear made him to wait, but not before kissing her forehead. He felt so good. Her tears, it told him that she wanted him but couldn't voice it out. Few more days, Shruti. Just wait till then. He smiled, looking at the roof. 2 weeks rolled, and both of them tried to fall in their regular schedule. It was very difficult, especially to Shruti. She can say that he is really enjoying it, but she couldn't cherish her feelings like him. Her reality always stopped her from going overboard. It didn't stop him to get close to her by trapping her and teasing her. She seemed so furious about how he can act so cool while she is suffering inside with this pain. She's really angry with his non-stop smirk. He will stand in her way purposely and she will struggle to get past him. Once she completely lost her cool and literally pushed him out of her way. He had a hearty laugh for that. She thought that he was checking her patience. That day too, she was trying to immerse in her work, ignoring his intense looks. Shruti, his voice made her to startle. She stood instantly. Yes, sir, she stuttered. Arav, he stressed his nth time. She shook her head again. You will. Saying this, he closed the gap. Before she can move back, he pulled her to him and held her close. What are you doing? Let me go. She avoided looking at him while struggling to get free. Say, Arav. Ismat. No. He glared at him. No. He raised his eyebrows. No. She confirmed it. Okay then. Saying this, he leaned to her. Again, she closed her eyes, holding her breath. She is furious on herself now. She is clearly losing her control. He is making her weak, and she cursed the love which is making her go so shaky. When she thought that any time she could feel his lips on her, it can wait. Let's go now. He whispered, brushing her earlobes, which sent shivers to her. She opened her eyes wide, only to look at the smirk. How she wanted to wipe that smirk on him, but she can't. She has started to love his smirk too. What? She said, and realized that he indeed had freed her grip from his grip. Now wind your things, we need to go. He hurried her. Where? She looked at him puzzled. You will know. He winked at her. She blew some hair to calm her and started to do as he said. He is driving her and still hasn't told her where he is taking her. She felt so restless. Where are we going? She asked him. You will know it soon, he said, looking at the road. She held her fist to calm her. She looked at him while he was smiling, as he could say that her eyes on him. She instantly diverted her eyes on the way. Her phone ringed, breaking their silence. She got confused looking at the call as it's her mom. மா எப்படி இருக்கீங்க ரூமுக்கு தான் போயிட்டு இருக்கேன் ஏன் என்னாச்சு என்ன என்ன சொல்றீங்க She looks at Arav. எப்ப இங்க வந்தீங்க? என்கிட்ட எதுவுமே சொல்லலையே. என்ன வரனா? She nervously looking at Arav, who just glances at her. இப்ப என்னம்மா அவசரம்? என்ன சொல்றீங்க? என்னோட பாஸ் தான் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணாரா? அம்மா, அம்மா, call hence. It was like, what happened? What are you saying, mom? When did you come here? You haven't said anything to me? What? Groom? What's the emergency, mom? What are you saying? My boss helped you to arrange it? It was like that. She is too shocked now and literally shaking. She is sweating like anything, even in the car's air conditioning. What is it? Arav asked her so calmly. She just stared at him, and when he thought she's not going to say anything, she started. When did my mother talk with you? She's really furious. Arav altered his car in a signal and turned to her. She called a couple of days before about your groom, so I thought why not help her? He answered like it's nothing to him. She gulped her pain and said, so you helped her? Yes, it's a good thing, right? You will be settling in your life just the way your mom wants, he said, smiling. And you are okay with it? She snapped at him. Yeah, he simply shrugged. Seriously? Are you okay with me marrying someone else? She stressed each and every word. Yeah, I'm okay. In fact, I'm happy too, he replied coolly. She blinked her tears and uttered, then what's the meaning of that temple incident? It was difficult to look at him straight. What is it? Do you have any feelings for me? You didn't say you like me? He pulled her legs. I'm an idiot. She gritted her teeth and looked away. Did you say anything? He asked her innocently. Just. She took a breath. Take me to my mom. She's losing it. Sure, are you going to marry that guy? He asked her, starting his car. Yes. It was really hard for her to utter that word and turned to the window, wiping her tears which had fallen on her cheek. Arav looked at her and smiled. She was so lost in her thought that she didn't notice that they have actually entered Singh Mansion's driveway. When the car altered, she sensed her surrounding, and before she could decipher what's happening, her mom showed up and pulled her out. Ma? She was stunned. Come, Shruti, it's getting late. The groom will be here any time. Her mom pulled her inside while she turned back and looked at her, who was standing there with a contented smile. When she came inside, she saw her dad, brother, and even a granny who were waiting for her. Appa? Party? The way they address Grandma. Vicky? She was so confused and looked at the Singhs too, including Lavanya and Deepali. Go, take her inside, her granny told, looking at Anjali, Lavanya, and Deepali. Shruti didn't know what's happening as she is being dragged to the guest room. There, her mom gave her a sari and told her to change. Ma, என்ன நடக்குது இங்க? Please சொல்லுங்க. She was in tears. You will know everything once you get changed and go out. Now hurry, the groom must be here. Saying this, she pushed her into the washroom. Shruti broke inside and cried. This is really killing her. She somehow wiped her tears and splashed the water on her face. She is wearing a simple bordered red sari with minimum accessories. She looked very pretty, but her eyes didn't have its usual spark. She didn't even notice the color of her sari. When she was forced to stand in front of everyone, her eyes were glued to the floor. Her father cleared his throat and said, Shruti, he is your groom. When she didn't look up, her mom insisted her to raise her eyes. At last, when she saw everyone is smiling so happily, and there stood Aarav with a smile. She blinked her tears by gulping it. He's your groom, her granny told her. Shruti looked at her mom, and when she blinked her eyes like yes, Shruti broke into tears. She shook with tears flowing on her cheeks. This is really too much for her. How can her poor heart can take this lightly, though it's jumping in happiness? Shruti, Akash came to her side, touching her shoulder gently, while Vicky came to her and said, Akash Mama, I think it's time for Arav Mama to explain her. What do you say? Casually. Shruti wiped her tears and looked at her with so much confusion. He finally came to her and looked at her mom. Party? Atte? Mama? Can I take Shruti to my room? He asked their permission, which made Shruti's eyes to go wide as he addressed them in her mother tongue. They all smiled and nodded to him, which shocked her even more. Aarav smirked at her and held her hand gently, dragging to his room, while she struggled to recover from the current shocks. In his room, he stood in front of her and looked at her. She didn't know how beautiful she is, even with those swollen eyes and teary cheeks. Shruti, his voice was very gentle. She didn't look at him. Hey, look at me. He tried to touch her chin, but she instantly slapped it away. What the? He was dumbstruck. You knew it? She looked at his eyes and gulped her anger. Shruti, I'm so sorry. He held her shoulders. When she started to cry again, he cupped her cheeks and wiped her tears. Please don't. Already it killed me watching you struggle these couple of weeks, he said softly. She looked at him, not getting what he meant. I love you, Shruti, he said sincerely to her, which made her heart so swell in happiness. And I wanted to cherish each and every moment of life with you till my end, so that I went to see your parents to ask for your hand. Her eyes welled up, showing her feelings. Do you remember those 2 days I didn't turn up? She nodded her head. Yes, I actually went to your native place with Nani. What? She gasped. Then he explained her how he talked with her father before he planned to meet them, and when he reached there with Nani, how they greeted them nicely. But it wasn't easy when he revealed his intention to them, and how her mom started to say it was impossible. But thanks to her granny who came to visit them, grasped everything and even supported him by explaining her mom that this is the next generation and they can't stick to their own rules when the kids are actually fallen for each other. How they made him to wait while they discussed this with her family members, including her uncles too. How her granny insisted her mom to call her and tell about the next groom's list, how Shruti has hesitated, how they came to know her unsaid words, how her bro Vicky told him everything what they had discussed between them. Everything and how they all called him and agreed to give her hand to him, and how they planned to disclose to her. Shruti cried her heart out, thinking how he has taken her burden by disclosing everything to her mom and making them to agree too. Shruti, he pulled her to him and held her in his arms. When she calmed a bit, she uttered, Thank you, to him and looked at him wiping her tears. So that means you will marry me, right? He smiled at her. She blushed and looked down, nodding her head like yes. He had a hearty laugh, which melted her heart. I want to hear it, he insisted. She looked at him with a smile and pulled his collar, then placed a soft kiss on his cheek. She then blushed heavily, as it was a very bold move of her. She slowly looked up to see a very stunned Arab. That was. He can't complete it, as it was a very special moment for them, especially for him. Is it enough, Arab? She looked at his eyes with so much love. What did you say? He couldn't believe it. Yes, I will marry you, Arab. She smiled at him. Wow! He pulled her and kissed her forehead. She blushed, taking his warmth. I really want to sit and stare at your lovely blush, but they all are waiting for us. With this, they both went down, holding each other's hands. When they reached down, Shruti ran to her mom and hugged her. Her mom hugged in return, showing how much she is happy that her daughter had in fact kept her promise. Her father and granny blessed her while Vicky gave her a side hug and said that he really likes her choice with a wink, for which she hit him hard, muttering, Vicky Bucky. Everyone laughed while both Arav and Shruti took blessings from all the elders. Note: Shruti's family are very fluent in Hindi, so they didn't use their mother tongue in Singh Mansion. And also, her father had already investigated about Arav and his firm when she told him about her job, and did a cross check about his family when Arav called him to talk about Shruti. Yep, typical father of a bride. Epilogue. Within a month, they arranged everything for Arav Shruti's big day. It really wasn't easy as it was quite hectic, but they do cherish each and every moment as it was a combo of two different cultures. Yes, the marriage was a mixture of two cultural rituals. Arav didn't even miss to remind Shruti about their deal, the one which he had made with her when he got her lehenga. When their engagement took place, he told her about the deal. She was really nervous, worrying what he was going to ask. But when he told her that he wants her to love him crazily till end, she got into tears and hugged him in return. The marriage, Sangeet Mehanti Aldi, went as usual, but the main marriage ceremony didn't take place in the evening. Instead, it was carried as per Shruti's tradition, an early morning mugurtam. It was really difficult for the Singhs, especially to Arav, who own a dhoti, a traditional Tamilian costume. It was hilarious, but somehow he took practice with Vicky and managed it. Not only him, but Akash, Amman, and Karan too. It was indeed a memorable one to them. After Arav Shruti's marriage, Akash Deepali and Karan Lavanya too settled in their marriage lives one by one. They kept celebrating all the pujas and functions in both ways. They felt it was fun and it bonded them very well. Whenever they get time, all the couples will fly to Tamil Nadu and enjoy their vacations there. Shruti's parents loved them all and are very glad to have them, especially Vicky. It didn't mean that Arav and Shruti didn't have any fights or arguments. It's always there, but then you know how to tackle the other person in those tough times. That's how life is, and they are happy about it too. The end. Thanks a lot for your support. Have a great day.